I'm not.
You know what? Great question. I will be recording. This is gonna go anywhere, everywhere, and if you're okay with that, then yeah, definitely
I'll keep it off. I'll keep it off. I'll go ahead and.
You're
Yeah.
like I said, you're natural on the camera, so it's up to you.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Nice talking to you guys, though. Great meeting you.
Yeah,
Welcome.
likewise. Welcome. All right, I see some more people starting to pop in. This is good. Good, good, good. All right, we'll start. I'll I'll start this officially when we have majority of the people. I know how it is typically with tech issues, what have you.
You are muted. Joe, you're muted. Okay, you
Welcome,
just unmuted. Yeah.
welcome. Hey, how are you? Evelyn, Eric, welcome. Caitlin, welcome. Super glad you're here. We'll start in a few minutes. I know how typically the tech issues with computers and phones and all these devices. So we'll get a few more minutes before we officially start. So hang tight, grab your water, or snacks, your coffee, whatever you need. But super grateful you're here.
Good to be here.
Hey, Eric.
Good morning, Joe.
Hey, Caitlin, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having this.
Oh, absolutely. Cool. So hang tight. We'll get started here very shortly. Welcome, welcome. Got a couple more people joining us. Super glad you're here. We're going to start in a few minutes. I'm getting some text and emails, so I want to make sure everybody has a link to get in. So hang tight. We'll start in a few more minutes, and I appreciate everyone else being on time. No challenges there, but use this time to grab your snacks, grab some coffee. We'll get started here in a few minutes, guys. Also, I'm going to put in the chat there. I think I could do it. Let me see. There we go. Be sure to join the school community. We're going to be adding more and more into that school community. This is a great chance to learn more, do some more networking. So the link is in the chat. Be sure to go ahead and grab that and join. And any questions, comments? Could somebody test that out actually? If somebody could put something in the chat. I made some adjustments and I want to make sure everything's working. So if somebody
This
could.
chat disabled, Joe.
Okay. I think I did it like host Let me see. They should be able to send it to me. So do you want to
Oh,
send
just
something?
send it to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Joe Mendoza offline. No, unable.
On the chat? You couldn't send
Oh,
it?
private message. Here we go. Testing.
Oh, here we go. Thanks, Gavin. Got your message. Perfect. Oh, there we go. All right. This works. This works. Good. Good, 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 good. All right. So I'll give it about a couple more minutes and then we will officially launch. And we are recording, guys. So, well, if you have any questions, go ahead and shoot a message in the chat there. All right, cool. I see a few more people joining the school community. Perfect. Perfect. So use the chat, guys, if you have any questions, you want to say something. I did it partly because we are jam-packing so much information today. We have several guest speakers, a lot of different information that we wanted to share. So I wanted to make sure we keep the flow going. So I kind of set it up differently probably than what you're used to in a normal meeting. We are going from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm sorry, 2 p.m. So yeah, this is going to be jam-packed with a lot of information, take a lot of notes. I did admit some of the AI note takers on purpose because I know some of them folks will be joining later, some folks on the road, what have you, but they realize how important this kind of training is. So thank you for the note takers for being here as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, folks, and please give me some feedback here as I share my screen, because again, sometimes with technology, there is some challenges, and I want to make sure that I'm not just burning through a bunch of slides and you guys can't see it. So could you see my presentation? Should be online.
Yep, we can see you.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Susanna. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Investor Club one-day intensive. As I mentioned, we're going to go from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. almost nonstop. If you guys need a bio break, a water break, a coffee break, we're all adults here. This is the luxury of having it at your home, at your office, wherever you're at. Thank you so much for being here. And quick disclaimer, I definitely want to put this out there. We are not your attorney. We are not tax pros. Although we are having an attorney, he is not your attorney unless you retained him or hired him, okay? In addition, Joe Mendoza and Associates are not CPAs, attorney, insurance, contractor, lender, or financial advisors. The content in our meeting today and in coaching shall not be construed as tax, legal, insurance, construction, engineering, health and safety, electrical, financial advice, or other, and may be outdated or inaccurate. It is your responsibility to verify all the information yourself. Please keep in mind that we may receive a commission when you click some of our links, our affiliate links, vendor affiliates, anything like that. As needed, seek additional advice. We're all adults, most of us, I believe, or if you're watching this on a future recording or whatever, please do your due diligence as well. We are recording, as I mentioned, so please turn off your camera. Some of you already did that. If you don't want to be on camera, turn off your microphone if you don't want to be recorded. This will be going out throughout social media platforms, YouTube, and whoever else is taking notes or maybe recording. I don't know where they're sending it. So if you are opting out and don't want to be recorded, again, please turn off your camera and turn off your microphone. A few housekeeping. So 5-minute breaks between topics. So we're going to go hard and fast each topic that we have today. And as I mentioned, there's going to be different speakers coming in and out during the meetings. Each topic will be about 30 minutes to an hour. Okay, working lunch, we're going to burn right through. Maybe take a 10 to 15-minute pause break, so you could get your food, pick up your order real quick, or heat it up in the microwave, anything like that. And Q&A after each topic, provided we have some extra time, okay? Stay till the very, very end, because normally we will have some extra time there. So we don't want to disrupt the flow, because some of the folks we have today have some very, very busy schedules. It's such an honor and privilege to actually have them here speaking today to share some great information. And number 5, I really want to emphasize this. It's a zero tolerance rule. So hopefully we're all professionals, we're all adults in here. The reason why I say this, somebody during COVID, when it first started, sabotaged one of my meetings. And that's why I kind of changed up the quality control here I have in this webinar format, because again, I want to respect all the folks here, the guests, the speakers, and make sure nothing like that happens ever again. Although I don't know, with all these technology experts out there, again, but if I do see something I don't like, or one of our speakers, leaders, or even you as a guest, please let us know, because we will automatically get them out of here, or whatever we need to do to mute them or cancel their microphone. Again, zero tolerance rule. Your time is valuable, and I want to respect that. All right, these are the sponsors. I want to thank each and every one of them for hosting, participating, and being part of this magnificent, magical event. We have myself, my real estate team, CREIC. They are one of the big speakers today. eXp Realty, Vulcan 7. Central, of course, is a commercial real estate investor club. Comloan, William Bronchick, and he will be talking a lot about his business, and what he will be sharing, again, will be extremely valuable. So be sure not to leave your seat on that one. Susanna's here as well. She's such a powerhouse. I've aligned myself with her. So make sure, as much as possible, take your breaks between the topics, okay? And Iris Commercial, we'll be seeing Jesse hopefully later. And we do have Mr. Eric Rhodes, who will be speaking as well. I already see him here. So thank you so much for all our sponsors, our speakers, and you, our guests, for investing your time into your future. So we commend you all for being here. These are the featured speakers today. We have Mr. William Bronchick on the top left, Ms. Susanna Royce in the middle. That's me on the top right. Jesse Hernandez on the bottom left, and Mr. Eric Rhodes on the bottom right. Who is Joe Mendoza? Well, I am a real estate investor, very much like some of you, or who would want to be. I am a multiple business owner. I am a California licensed broker since 1998, so nearly 30 years. Worldwide advisor coach to over 1,000 entrepreneurs, trained either personally or as an office or as a team, one-on-one over the past 14 years. This is something I really enjoy and love doing. My real estate story started way back in the early 90s. I was a senior here in San Diego, and my dad, throughout my life, would always say, you got to be rich, you got to be rich. I mean, he was a struggling military serviceman, and I saw him, like, he would have side hustles here. He would do, like, in Hawaii, when we were in Hawaii, he would make puka shells and sell them. My mom would do Avon and Tupperware. And I knew that, like, you know what, I never want to be like that. And so Robert Allen, one of my uncles, had some tickets to his event. And he goes, hey, Joe, I have some of these tickets to this event. Would you like to go? And I was a senior in high school trying to figure out life out. And I go, what's it on? He goes, real estate. And I automatically, at that age, I already knew, like, hey, real estate, rich, real estate. I put the 2 and 2 together. And sure enough, it was Robert Allen, a live event here in Chula Vista, San Diego. I went there. I was so pumped up, and I go, you know what? This is my ticket. And so since then, it was 1989, 1990. I knew that was my calling and my future, and I pretty much followed in his footsteps. Here I am today. I wrote my own book. I actually wrote several books. You know what? I will let these folks in. I'm sorry. We got a few more people entering, so I got to make sure I pay attention to that. I've hosted many podcasts. As a matter of fact, that's how I met Mr. William Bronchick and a few other amazing, influential people in the real estate space. And you can find that book on Amazon. My vision with the Commercial Real Estate Investor Club is a massive investor community of like-minded individuals contributing to building wealth transformation in their lives, creating generational wealth for their loved ones, becoming better each day and improving from yesterday. So that is my vision. That is my vision of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Club. And again, super glad each and every one of you are here to witness part of the vision, participate in the vision, and maybe be a big part of the vision. My mission, big or small, I want to help create wealth for all. That is my true north in life, and that's where, if you follow me very, very closely, a lot of the things I do is in conjunction with that, and either to add fuel to that fire and keep me going, or help get to that next level. And purpose, how? Building community one event at a time. And the Commercial Real Estate Investor Club is a community that we all are looking to build. A lot of us that are already here, that been here since the very, very beginning. I know Caitlin was there as well. She saw it and bought into the vision as well. So yeah, that's what it's all about. Remember, your network equals your net worth. I want you to really remember that. And a big part of commercial real estate, it is a team sport. And so you want to align yourself with people that you know that's probably not your strength. So you may get it, you might understand it. Like, I understand numbers, I could run calculations, I'm pretty good at Google Sheets and spreadsheets, what have you. But I'll tell you what, Susanna could do circles around me. So that's a big part of why I align myself with her. She has a better full understanding than me, okay? And you'll hear a lot about her skill set today. So I want you to make sure you're paying attention to that. Fact, teamwork does make the dream work. If you're going to get into this game, especially the commercial real estate game, you got to understand it is a team sport. I will go more heavily into that. And as other speakers speak, you will realize that to play this bigger game, you definitely need a bigger team. And single family, you could do fix and flips, buy and holds by yourself. I mean, you really can. But if you want to scale it up, you definitely want to build a team. Together, everyone achieves more. And that is the acronym I believe in commercial real estate. I talk about it in my book. So the book I shared earlier in chapter 7, Flex with a Plex, you'll see that I always will emphasize team, 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 team. Okay, it's right there, right in the chapter. These are some of the folks you want to align yourself with. Who's your realtor? Who's your broker? My attorney is Bill Bronchick is definitely one of them. My lender, guess what? Susanna's one of them. My insurance, my contractor, my handyman, my termite company, my painter. This is in my book. And so you want to make sure you start to go ahead and build your team. This is a good snapshot on what your team should look like in commercial real estate, maybe even in single family. So you want to go ahead and either take a picture of this or go ahead and buy the book. And that's the foundation. You could go ahead and scan this. It'll take you straight to Amazon. As I mentioned, quite frankly, I didn't do it to get rich. I wrote this book during COVID. I had this book in my head for many, many years. And when COVID hit, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to leave a legacy, maybe even for my kids, if I don't make it out of COVID, I want to leave a legacy piece. And that's when I wrote Flex with a Plex. As a matter of fact, I wrote 2 books during COVID, Make It a Comeback and Flex with a Plex. Both of them you can find on Amazon. I created this commercial real estate investing workbook, okay? So this commercial real estate investing workbook will have a lot of the foundations about what we're talking about today. It might even fill some of the gaps that we might miss today, because from those next 4 hours that you're here today, I promise you, you'll have enough there to do something and maybe turn it into millions. Some of you, you might need some extra filler to fill in those gaps, and hence why I formed the school community with Commercial Real Estate Investor Club, why I did this workbook, why I wrote the book Flex with a Plex. So if you start to put all these pieces of the puzzle together, you will have plenty. I participated in multiple good boot camps and multiple coaches and trainers and mentors. So I encourage you to get all these puzzle pieces for very, very inexpensive amount. Okay. So I like I said, I don't get rich on my book. I don't get rich on my workbook, but the secret to living is giving. You saw my purpose is big or small. I want to help create wealth for all. Commercial real estate is a team sport. I want to keep emphasizing this throughout the day, and I'm sure my other speakers will agree the same thing. Alone, you will go fast. Together, you will go far. I'm one of those, quite frankly, that I didn't believe in that before. And I was a maverick. In a lot of cases, I still am in certain cases, like, okay, I'll figure it out. I'll do it better, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you use that mindset, unfortunately, no offense, that's a broke mindset. I see a lot of wage earners. If you're a 9-to-5er, that's typically the mindset. However, if you want to be a business owner, a big investor, you got to think team, 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 team. Okay. Commercial Real Estate Investor Club. These are some of the founding members. These are some of the people that were right there in the very, very beginning when I had this crazy idea in my head, but they believed in me and they bought into it and they supported me and they gave it their all. And some of them are still here today. We see
So
Jesse.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. We've
Yep.
got somebody still trying to get in.
Okay.
Let's go to text message. So sorry.
Okay. If you could share the link, feel free, Susanna. That would be awesome. And
They
any of you,
have. Okay, gotcha. I gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I see some more people coming in. So yeah, all these amazing folks have been there in the beginning, including Susanna. We have Caitlin here, you know. So yeah, teamwork makes the dream work. And I believe the more of us that get together, we're either going to do a deal together or we're going to support each other in another way here or there. But by all means, love to see more amazing people add to this community. Share the club. Go ahead and take a picture of that, scan it. This is going to take you directly to school. So school is the platform, the community that we're building up now. And that's where we're going to be housing a lot of the training, a lot of the events. You're going to get the alerts. Okay. Like today, some of you already are part of the community. You probably got the alert about today. And so it's, you know, we're trying to make this as seamless as possible so we could scale, right? Systems, just an FYI on the side, if you write this down, system, SYSTEM, save yourself time, energy, and money. So that's where we're looking to do with Commercial Real Estate Investor Club is we're creating systems, we're looking to scale, and that's why we decided on school. So this is an overview of what you're going to be learning today. Okay, foundations of commercial real estate and investing, what's happening in Texas. As a matter of fact, Mr. Eric Rhodes will be speaking here in a few minutes. Financing commercial real estate deals. That's Susanna Royce, finding hidden deals. We're going to have CREIC today. We're going to have Vulcan 7 today. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the different things I do also to find hidden deals. Building long-term wealth in commercial real estate. I saw Jesse just joined us. Jesse Hernandez will be speaking on that and a few other things that we'll be talking throughout the day. Jesse, I believe, will be here most of the time. Same with Susanna. So if you have any questions, feel free, again, to use the chat and let us know, and then we'll answer each question accordingly. All right. Why commercial real estate? Well, it's a higher return on investment, long-term stability, and wealth creation. There's a few people in my friends and family that are millionaires, right? But on paper, okay, why? Because it's equity. Well, you can't eat equity. Okay. Well, in commercial real estate, you want more passive income. Okay. That is the kind of money that I'm talking about when you start to buy commercial real estate. You could create passive income. And I'm going to get to the slide here in a second, but I really want you to pay attention to this upcoming slide because that is probably one of the biggest, most important slides you're going to see today. And it's here, going to be here shortly. There's major differences in residential lease terms, valuation, financing. Some of it will be uncovered here today by Susanna. There's investment cycles you want to pay attention to. So right now, there's a big reason why you want to get into commercial real estate because of the loan maturities is a big one. Okay, so if you're not paying attention, I invite you to, because pay attention to loan maturity. Loan maturity simply means that we're not on a 30-year fix in commercial real estate. We're usually on an arm of 3, 5, 7, 10. And when that loan matures, it's called a reset where we need to get a better loan, because otherwise what's happening now, people who bought at 3%, 4%, 2, 3, 4 years ago didn't anticipate rates going up to 8%. See, they burned through reserves. They're trying to do a cash call with their investors. The investors are like, no way. And lo and behold, a lot of these investors who miscalculated, undercalculated, didn't have enough reserves are giving keys back. A big influencer out there, I won't say the name, I don't like doing that. Man, he's in court right now. As a matter of fact, he might go to jail for running a Ponzi scheme on a syndication. Okay, so you got to be really, really careful who's selling you this basket of goods. And you look me up on DRE, Department of Real Estate. I've had my license for almost 30 years and not a blemish. I run my business tight. I keep my reputation tight. And there's a reason why I'm forming this club. Another reason I don't want you guys to get burned. Okay. Forced appreciation. This is another thing I'm going to show you here in a second, why you need to be investing in commercial real estate. So I sold this building here in Escondido, 350 West 9th, a few years ago. You could even look it up. It was a 17-unit office building. I represented the seller. I was a listing agent at the time. I didn't know any better as an investor, but I'll tell you what. This seller was what we call, he wanted to retire. He had the perfect ingredients, what you need to be looking for. He wanted to retire. He did shoebox accounting. He self-managed it. There was really no online present. All the ingredients were there. But as a broker, I just wanted to make my 3%, 6%, whatever it was at the time, but not thinking like an investor. And I'll tell you this, if you're a real estate agent out there right now, quit working for tips, okay? What I mean by that, one of my mentors once told me, you're making 1%, 3%, 6%. The person that bought this building, he 3x'd his return. They got a seller carry. He put in 400,000. He bought it for like less than 2 million. It's worth way more than that today. And that's what I'm talking about getting wealthy. Okay. Sure, being a real estate agent is great. You'll make some good money. But you'll get wealthy getting into commercial real estate. Okay. This is your new friend, your new best friend, Irv. I want you to write this down. This is a great formula for commercial real estate. This is by far one of the most important formulas you should know in commercial real estate. Your best friend, Irv, IRV. I on the top is net operating income. R is the existing cap rate. V is the value or price. You could have any of these variables and start to figure it out. Okay. One is usually missing, sometimes two, sometimes three. But if you have any one of these variables, now you could find out the true value or the potential value. Now, the potential value is what we also call pro forma. Okay. So when you're looking on CREIC or LoopNet or CoStar or any one of these platforms or MLS, be careful what you read, okay? Because there's pro forma and there's also actuals. You always want to get actuals, but if you want to buy and hold and see what your potential value will be, learn about pro forma as well. What will this property be when we're operating? We stabilize a property at its fullest potential, okay? Your best friend, Irv, I want you to figure this out real quick. Grab your calculator. Okay, some of you didn't think we're going to do some work. We're going to do some work. All right. So your best friend, Irv, income 100,000 divided by cap rate at 4%. That's like San Diego. San Diego has a lot of properties at 4%. You might be in a city marketplace, the same thing. What's your value? What's your value? Go ahead. 100,000 divided by 0.04. What's your value? Again, this is basics, but I want you to see the value in this simple exercise. Okay. All right. So check this out. If you got 2.5 million, you are correct. Okay. That would be the value of the property. Again, net is different from gross. Net takes into consideration subtracting what we call TIMR, TIMMUR, taxes, insurance, maintenance, management, utilities, reserves. So people telling you the 1% rule and they're a real estate agent or trying to sell you on that, run the other direction. Okay, be careful, because if they're telling you the 1-for-1 rule, that's basic. That is so basic. What I just shared with you is way more advanced. If you're a realtor, I want you to really understand this, because now you get to level up. Okay. So check this out. This is called forced appreciation next. This is a power, folks. This is the power of commercial real estate. In residential real estate, most of the time, you're looking at like house per house, square footage per square footage. What did it sell for? Okay, that's residential real estate. In commercial real estate, I'm going to show you why you need to get in commercial real estate. If I bought a property that was underperforming, I increased the income, right? Because it was underperforming, just like that office I showed you earlier. It was self-managed, not professional, right? The market rents weren't market rents. They had like, they created their own rents that they didn't increase to market value. When you increase the value of the rents, you make the property look better, you paint it, you put better signage, you put asphalt on the parking, you increase the value. So that same property in like 12 months, 18 months, you just made yourself an extra $2.5 million. And that is possible. Okay. Again, you saw my disclaimer, folks, earlier in the presentation, but I want you to realize that is a potential, and some people have done it. As a matter of fact, Jesse here might want to talk about one of his deals earlier when he reaches his presentation about creating wealth, because he's done it. I've done it. Susanna's done it. A lot of us have done it, where we simply stabilized the property, got it to pro forma, and then either sold it or kept it and did a cash out refinance and got our money out. Okay. And then if you guys know BRRRR, repeat, right? Buy it, rehab it, refinance it, pull the cash out, and repeat. Okay. Benefits. Creating wealth is faster. There's passive income, as I mentioned. Okay. Because like I said earlier, I have a few friends and family that are millionaires, but you can't eat equity. Okay. I want to really emphasize that. Passive income, passive income. You'll get to retire. You'll have more freedom. Okay. Don't wait to buy real estate, folks. Don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. Okay. That's the biggest lesson here. All right. Why now? This is a big reason why now. As I mentioned, I've been a real estate broker for almost 30 years. Typically, we're in a 7 to 10 year cycle. This one has been an anomaly. Why? Because of COVID, because of EIDL, because of PPL money. Fake money got pumped into our economy. And that's why we have an anomaly where the typical cycle was normally 7 to 10 years. But now lenders got tired. They said, none of this debt forgiveness or whatever they call it when they recast a loan, none of that. All right. And so now we're starting to see these loan maturities, the silver tsunami. If you were born 1946, 1964, or somebody who was born then, the baby boomers, they're dumping their portfolios. I have a client that is sitting on a commercial property and they want to get rid of it. I go, well, do you have any kids, family that to hand it to or what? They're like, no. And so they're in this position where a seller carry would be perfect. Mortgage maturities, I mentioned that earlier. Okay. Listing inventory is up, guys. It is a buyer and investor market now as we speak. In a lot of places, San Diego, man, the inventory is popping up. Well, that means it's a buyer market now. Sellers don't really have too much room to negotiate. They're just happy if somebody is there to show the property. So number 4 is a really good reason. So actually 1 through 4, you want to write that down. These are why you want to get into commercial real estate. 20% of commercial.
Let me add something here too. So because it's so good, you're exactly right. But I just want to say for the benefit of people that a lot of people are hesitating right now. But that's when you need to act, is when everybody else is hesitating. But number 2, what we're going to be showing you later in the presentation, that, yeah, real estate has these ups and downs. You need to take advantage when you can get in as a buyer, because with time, it smooths out all the bumps. And we'll talk about it as far as your internal rate of return and all that. But that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Susanna. Absolutely. Timing is everything, guys. 20% of commercial and multifamily mortgage balances mature in 2025. And this is big. You're sitting on a tip of an iceberg. We're already seeing. So I do a lot of coaching consulting for VPs, RVPs, very senior folks. I limit the people who I coach one-on-one to really like high level where I know I could add value in my time. There's only so much time in a day. The writing's on the wall, and there's a lot of it people aren't seeing. Why? The news doesn't want to scare the heck out of people, what have you, or whatever the reason, but I'm seeing it. This is not opinionated. If you get to know me or you want to talk on a private chat, I will show you exactly what's going on, but some of it's already there out in the open. Understanding commercial real estate industry, there's major types: multifamily, retail, industrial, office, mixed use, different investor strategy for each asset class. So I want you to know, I love storages for a reason. Okay. If I need to evict somebody, I just change the lock. Okay. I'll warn them, of course, give them the warnings, what have you. I'll change the lock. When I have to move them out, I'm going to sell their stuff and I'm going to broom sweep it and rent it out to the next person. A lot more simple than multifamily, especially in red or blue state or whatever, if you understand what I'm talking about. I'm not favoring any one of them, but I am saying there are different rules in place where there are favorites in favor for the landlord, sometimes in favor for the tenant. Okay. Determine your buy box. When you're getting into commercial real estate, I really want you to figure this out. I'm coaching somebody who's in title right now. She's getting into commercial title, and she's a newbie. She used to sell medical devices. Now she's getting into commercial real estate title. And they said, hey, go after anything. And I get it. But you as a new investor, yeah, learn a lot, but start to figure out what might be your buy box: mobile home parks, storage, multifamily, retail, industrial, warehouse. Okay, figure that out. Value add. Is there a value add available? Because like I showed you earlier, if I could increase the net operating income, that's how, with signage, with having a property manager, with maybe fixing up the yard, maybe renting out some storage space, maybe et cetera, et cetera. Location convenience. Somebody asked me, actually, Addie, your dad asked me this. I go, hey, how close to the airport? Because I don't want to fly in an airplane for 2 or 3 hours. Then I got to drive another 2 hours to get to the property. Not for me. I used to do that, not anymore. It's one of these things where I'd rather have my boots on the ground, and I want it 20 to 30 minutes from the airport. I don't care what major city it is. I want it 20 to 30 minutes from the airport. I could sit in a car for that long, but after a 2 or 3 hour flight, not for me. MAO, might want to write this down. Maximum allowable offer, ARV, after repair value. These are some of the different things you want to learn about in commercial real estate. What will you bring to the table? Do you bring the deal? Do you bring the money? Do you bring the credit? Do you have the experience resume? Do you have the balance sheet? Are you willing to travel? I want you to realize, folks, that if you have one of these ingredients, you are in commercial real estate, okay? You have a big chance. Just join somebody who could fill all the other boxes. All right, so we have about 9 minutes to stay on time, like I said. And I'm going to have Eric Rhodes, who's here, share a few words. I've been working with Eric for a long time. He's a very, very credible individual. He's in the big state of Texas. He's sold a lot of commercial and a lot of land. Eric, I hope you could unmute yourself and maybe say a few things if you can.
Thank you, Coach. Well, Coach Joe. So I started with Mr. Mendoza. What did we start? Just after COVID in 2021 as a Tom Ferry client, and I had just moved over from Ebby Holiday. I started in 2011. Got licensed, and oh boy, I came from Merrill Lynch. So my background was a financial advisor. Then the recession hit, so I moved back to Texas from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and it was a culture shock. I was born and raised here in Sherman, Texas, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I figured, well, I don't want to live and die by red and green arrows, so let's get into real estate. So got into real estate and hit the ground running. Started as an assistant, an unlicensed assistant, and lo and behold, I was pretty much acting as a license, and my office manager came to me and said, "Hey, you're doing great. You're making deals, but you got to get your license because what you're doing is illegal." I was like, "Oh, okay." So got my license, and first deal I did was a commercial deal. From then on, I branded a name as the go-to commercial guy in Grayson County. We're about 55 minutes from DFW Airport. So from then on, I aspired to study, learn all I could for commercial. Just wrapped up with CCIM 104. Plan to take the test here pretty soon, and I'll be one of 2 CCIMs in Grayson County. So I'll leverage that moving forward with Coach Joe. Let's see here. 2020, I moved from Evie to Remax Commercial to run their commercial division. And what a time to move when it was just flat in 2020, May of 2020. So we kind of thought, what are we going to do? So we went to the county and got a map of the Dallas North Tollway Extension Thoroughfare, and we mapped out a war room and we just went to coffee shops in rural communities and mapped out where this tollway is going to come from Dallas, and met farmers who had no idea how much the value of their land was, and said, "You can get 20,000 an acre for it." And they were blown away. So, well, long story short, from 2020 to now, we sold just about under 2,000 acres of land, and we're now starting to have sellers flip out of it. And it was appreciating between 7 to 10% year over year. So with that being said, that really got my attention and interest in big land development. If you're aware, Sherman made the news a couple years ago. In 2022, TI and Global Wafers announced a 30 billion and 5 billion investment in two semiconductor plants. So TI's expansion broke ground in 2022 with a $30 billion chip fabrication campus here. They just announced 2 days ago that they plan 4 more phases over the next 10 years, which will bring to a population where we are now 45,000. That's 3,200 estimated direct jobs with a average salary of 80,000 or more. Global Wafers alone will bring 1,500 more jobs. So you're looking at 4,700 potential jobs. That's 10% increase over the next decade. What's interesting about that is the construction boom that is happening in this market. It is prices just skyrocketed. So what we're looking at pretty much is 4,700 new direct jobs within the next 5 years. If you're looking at an employment to population ratio, Sherman's growing at 3.5 times faster than what they anticipated. So for each job, one job, you're looking at potentially 1.38 new households. So not to bore anyone, but if you look at where that could be from investor standpoint, is the demand for housing is within our reach, which is different than a lot of areas. Some areas around here are actually, demand is shrunk and home values are going backwards. But here we're actually, year over year, we've increased over 8% in home values, and we are having ancillary companies who feed off of the chip semiconductor business relocate to the property. So to bring that into, I didn't have much tenant leasing work, but I currently am representing a client who's taking down 20,000 square feet, and they are the largest supplier of metal tubing to SpaceX and Blue Origin. They are getting in with TI and Global Wafers to supply finished polished aluminum. Learning more about that, but the world of commercial real estate is something new every day. It's led me from small rural brick and mortar sales to large farm and ranch sales to subdivisions, multifamily developers, and now into the chip semiconductor realm. So I am happy to be here. I look forward to, I'm proud to join this group. Wanted to quickly introduce myself. I'll stop rambling, but give you a little background history on me, my experience, and where I'm located. And there is a ton of opportunity here, getting in ahead of the curve as you see what was a small rural town become a pretty boom suburban area just outside the metroplex.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Really appreciate that information. I did put your phone number in the chat, so hopefully you guys see it in the chat. You guys his phone number. All right, thank you. And I see Team CREIC in the house. Super excited for them to be speaking next. Feel free to reach out again to Eric Rhodes. His number is right there. He's in the big state of Texas. He really knows his stuff. So CCIM, that is the gold standard, folks. Certified Commercial Investment Member. I studied a bunch of those courses myself a while back. And yeah, if you see somebody who has CCIM, that's massive. When you're looking at commercial brokers and you see that behind their name, Takes a lot. It's a big sacrifice. Each class is about 1 week long, and you got to be tested and pass the test. Eric Rhodes is right there. Myself, I that's how I learned a good part of my commercial real estate as well. So now, folks, I see some of you, most of you actually right off camera. Yeah, take those bio breaks as needed. Grab the snacks and coffee as needed. But let's have Crexy. Are you guys ready to go? Yeah. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Yes,
Beautiful.
sir.
All right, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Crexy. I've been working with them for a very, very long time. They're really standing behind Commercial Real Estate Investor Club. They see the opportunity. They were there at our first live event. Folks, these guys are giants. So if you don't know who they are, get to know them. I mean, we've got two amazing representatives from Crexy today here with us. So they're going to go ahead and share their screen. Okay. They're going to go ahead and share a little bit about the platform and the market. Ladies and gentlemen, Team Crexy, we have Puya and Mr. John in the house. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks so much, Joe. Appreciate the intro and excited to run through Crexy with all you guys. Just a little background on what Crexy is and what we do. We're the largest marketplace for commercial real estate, excuse me, both for sale and for lease. And we help investors, agents, primarily with finding deals, finding opportunities, analyzing, getting access to CRE data, just really in their day-to-day, right? So John and I work on the intelligence side of our platform, where you get access to all this data, and we really aggregate on any property, transaction history, ownership info with contacts, so phone number, emails to get in touch with owners, as well as private loan data. You can even see what loans are out on properties, maturity dates, and a lot of folks have had success finding deals that way in the environment we're in, with rates hiking so much in the past few years. Getting in touch with owners that have maturing loans at low rates or might be in distress. So I'll share my screen, run you guys through it. Feel free to throw in questions in the chat, and I'll try to get through as many as I get along through the demo, but we'll also have like a section at the end to answer those questions. And, you know, Joe's a subscriber of our platform. Given that we were able to get approval for a great like discount for being on the webinar today. So more on that as we go through. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Let me know, and you can give thumbs up if you guys can see the Crexy homepage. Great. So this is Crexy.com, right? On the homepage, you can see different tabs here. You can go to sale to look at what properties are for sale by brokers, lease. We have an auctions platform, and then comps and records. So I'll start off on the sale side and run you through, you know, 3 things on the intelligence side of the platform that we help with. To simply put, you can quickly do market analysis, site selection, underwriting, getting access to comps, and then finding deals. So this is all the active properties we have for sale across the US. But if we want to narrow down a specific market, let's just do San Diego for the example. You could do this nationwide. You can come in here, narrow down any commercial type or investment property. So if you wanted to see multifamily, for example, apply that. Now we're seeing 176 multifamily properties for sale. So all of this is just information the broker has on the deal. But the first place the intelligence platform kicks in is going to be the Insights tab. So any search you guys do, any property type, any location, this will give you a quick pulse on the market. So with one click, we're now showing you Median asking price for multifamily is around 2.7 million. The price per square foot. And super important is seeing the cap rate trends, right? So cap rate is going to be an indicator of the return the investor's getting on these properties. And so asking cap rate is around 4.5, whereas they're selling at around a 4.4. And you can see those trends quarter over quarter. Below that, you can see multifamily is trading at around 420K a door. And we'll even pull other insights on demographics. So this will include population trends. Is it growing or declining? Household income, as well as growth or decline rates. So 13% growth on income with breakdowns. Median age. Major employers. Occupancy and vacancy. So great thing about this, we're map based, right? So this is all set to the parameters of the map. But I can get very specific. If I wanted to understand all these details on a specific part of San Diego, I can create a boundary or even draw with our pencil tool and say, hey, show me, Chula Vista within 2 miles, 2.5 miles. Now all of this is updating in real time. And super easy to print this out into a PDF to share with clients, other investors, and that would be included with your picture, your branding, and a quick report. Cool. So moving on to the map, interactive maps here on the right-hand side. We have a lot of ways to visualize data to help with site selection, figure out what areas are good to invest in or are aligned for like the investment strategy you're looking at. So some of these will include heat maps for population density, median income, vehicle traffic count, points of interest, and flood and fire risk. So if I toggle these, it'll overlay on the map. And for population, you can see what areas are more dense. Same thing with income. So why this would be useful for, particularly multifamily investors, if you're looking at potentially flipping a property, you want to make sure the income for that area is going to support it. Are you renovating a Class C property to Class B? Is the income there? If not, you're making sure you're looking in the right markets for those types of investments. Points of interest, another great one. This allows you to kind of understand new markets, right? If you're in a new market and trying to see where schools are, where Starbucks are, where are those like anchor locations that will drive the property, I can type any location here. So if I type in schools, and if I type in Starbucks, you can quickly see where those are located, as well as get details on it from Google. So all this kind of help you save time doing research, help with site selection, get an idea of pricing. But where the intelligence tool really kicks in, where you guys would get the most value really, and for most of our customers, it's going to be comps and records. So rather than looking at just listings and this information, if I go to comps and records, I now have access to any property, whether it's on or off market. And to really drill this down, if I zoom into the map, you can see all the parcels open up, right? I can click into any of these records, and within it, we'll have past transaction, ownership info, loan info, what have you. So 2 ways we're going to filter this. There are a lot of ways to do it, obviously, depending on what the goal is. But one would be looking at recent sales and comps, getting transaction information. And that would come down to filtering this to date sold. Show me what's sold in the last 6 months, 12 months. And we're getting these sales a few ways. One, from our marketplace, brokers are going to report that information, and we're able to capture the cap rate information, the NOIs, asking versus closing details. But we also partner with all the major title companies to get sales that happen off market, verify the info brokers give us to get you the most accurate data. So for this multifamily property, you can see it sold June 16, 2025 for 2.2 million. And you have access to the flyer, the pictures from when it was listed. And if I come to property history, you can see the full history on the property and that this broker, Eric, sold the property on CREIC and reported all this information to us. So listed at 2.5, sold for 2.2, so a bit of a discount there. Here's the description, investment highlights, and full timeline on when it was listed and sold. Below that, you can see other details we'll capture as previous sales, some previous loans, which I'll get into more in a moment. But super important is if I come down to the bottom, below the tax history, we have actual owner contact info. So here's the current LLC that owns it, the mailing address. We actually will dig through this to get owner contacts. So we've identified David Dale as the owner of Dale Property Group. And we found all the phone numbers and emails tied to him. And we will sort this based on how many times it showed up as a number, which one is most confident is going to be the direct line. So that's the one with the score of 100, as well as any other emails and numbers tied to him. So this one is a Verizon cell phone number, couple on other numbers tied to him, 2 emails. And not only that, we also are able to dig through and click into view portfolio and see if there's other properties tied to this owner as well. They mom in a lot of properties, what types of properties, what's their area of focus. With one click, you can see what type of owner you're working with. So got 9 properties for this owner. Looks like they're all multifamily, 1 residential across California and Phoenix mostly. And if I go to the right, here are the different entity names and LLCs he has those properties under. So I know I did this for a recent sale, probably not as valuable for you guys to reach out to someone who just bought a property, although maybe it would be because they're actively buying. But I'll show you other ways to sort our system to get ahead of deals, get in front of opportunities before they happen. You know, kind of narrow the list down instead of talking to every multifamily or every retail investor in a market. using indicators to see who might be coming up with a decision to maybe sell or maybe make a move or might be in distress. So I'll go ahead and clear the filters. And we can start the search from scratch. But I guess we started with multifamily, we could just stick there. I'll go ahead and check off that property type again. Although we even have residential properties too. And now we're looking at every property here, but I can go to all filters and really narrow this down. We have unit count filters, building size, year built, acreage. And if I go to the sale tab, we have a whole financing section where you can filter for what owners have a loan coming due with a maturity date, which ones are under distress and pre-foreclosure. And I can filter by loan amount, lender, and loan type as well. A lot of other filters, but those would be the most popular ones I see investors and agents using. So we'll go ahead. Let's just see who has a loan coming up in the next year, in the next 12 months in San Diego. So just for multifamily alone, we have 170 owners with loans maturing. If I go to the right on these columns, you can see when they purchased the property, how much they paid, and details on those loans. Who was their lender? How much debt was taken out? What type of loan is it? A lot of construction loans. And maturity date on those as well. So great, we have this list, owners that have debt that is maturing. What we've done, made it really easy to take this information, build a database of leads, or upload this into your CRM. So what I can do, I can actually select, export these with the ownership information right into a CSV with a few clicks. And now you have all the information that you saw on each property record in Excel format with hyperlinks back to the CREIC page. And even the owner contact information all the way on the right here. So we'll have best phone number, best email first, but every other number and email associated with the person, mailing addresses, and the entity LLC name. So we're in the inventory report that includes all the details of the property and the record and owner, but we've also broken down different tabs down here. So we filtered for loans coming due. Let's click into the finance info tab and just take a look at some of those loans, because we can tell part of the story, right? What was the goal with the owner? What situation are they in? And coming into this tab, I can again see all the details on the lender, their rate, loan amount, maturity, and the term of the loan in months. So seeing a lot of bridge loans, shorter term loans, meaning 36 months or lower, those are typically interest only. So these owners are most likely just making the interest payments and not paying down any of the principal balance. So when this loan comes due in August, this owner has a decision to make. Am I gonna pay off the whole $405,000 loan, refinance, or sell? And we'll even track standard loans, 5, 7, 10 years. This is a 10-year. That was taken out in 2015. Rates were around 4%. Kind of a similar story. Is this owner going to refinance at around 7-8% now? Or have they, gotten the most out of the depreciation tax benefits of the property and now is it time to do a 1031 exchange and sell? So those are a few ways people are leveraging CREIC to find opportunities off market, using the loan information, all this back-end data. And getting in touch with owners. I'll pause for a moment to see if any questions drop in the chat. Before we go into the market report section.
I don't see any questions on the chat. Anybody have a question? You could go ahead and unmute real quick if you want. Think you're good.
Sweet. Love it. Awesome. So last piece here. Comps and records, kind of showed you how to filter through all that. We also have market reports where you can get more big picture macro trends on the commercial real estate state of the market. So toggling this tab, I can run different reports for sale and for lease in different counties or submarkets. So we have filters to narrow for major commercial types and multifamily. I can search specific markets or counties, or just keep it on a national level to get an idea of asking versus sale cap rates, how those are trending quarter over quarter. Same thing for price per foot, occupancy and vacancy, how many properties are being listed for sale, which we're starting to see increases. Total days on market to sale. Absorption rate. And lease information. So that pretty much sums up the platform. A lot of different ways to use it, obviously. Tried to stick to the main few ways that would benefit you guys the most. However, once onboarded, we also do a great job with customer support. So we have a whole customer support team with live phone number. John and I are available to jump on calls as well. And you'll have access to this whole training video database, just breaking down all the different features and use cases of the platform in video format. So if you wanted to see how to access market reports again or the loan info, we make it super easy to get going and start utilizing this to find deals. As well as specific videos for industry role. So as an investor, how could you leverage this? Or an agent or appraiser? So goal for us really is to be a one-stop shop for all commercial real estate data needs, whether you're looking for comps, market insights, sourcing and finding opportunities, kind of in one place there. So set up for the platform, excited to run through the discount we were able to get approved with Joe. So standard rate, we sign you up for $500 a month and it's on a 12-month term paid monthly. However, for attending the webinar, we were able to get 50% off down to $225 a month as well. So that's for just attending the webinar. We can extend that through next Friday. And if you guys are interested or have questions, want to jump on another demo, feel free to drop your email in the chat or reach out to John, Phillip, or I. So John's email is in the chat there. And if you just send an email saying you attended the webinar, that'll get you approval for the discounted rate. So again, that's $225 a month off of our standard 500. And feel free to drop any questions as well, since it looks like we are doing good on time.
Great job, Puya. That was awesome. Yeah, I'd rather have somebody finish earlier than go too far. So that's awesome. Short, sweet. And yeah, we really appreciate you being here, Puya. John, you're amazing. You're always there when I need you. I did put his link in the chat, folks. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick as well. This is a QR code. It goes right to his calendar. And so if you wanted to meet with John, you could test out John, make sure it works pretty well. You guys could see this QR code. Guys, looks pretty good. It works.
Yep,
Yeah.
working for me. So yeah, that takes you right to my calendar, allows you to book time. That's just a quick Zoom call if we want to cover anything. Yeah, feel free to scan that and select the time, and we'll go ahead and meet and walk through the platform. Also, right, if you want to just email me at that jphillip@CREIC, it's in the chat there. Thanks for putting that in, Joe. You could just tell me, hey, this is my cell. I was at CREIC, the conference. We have that discount going through, next Friday. Can, give you a quick call, walk through, sign up details and get you going. But really appreciate you guys for having us. And yeah, hopefully to hear from you guys soon. So.
All right. Thank you, John. Thank you, Puya.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Awesome.
one.
Appreciate the time, Joe, and everyone else.
All right. Have a great day. Thanks again for your support, guys.
Yep, of course.
All right. So let's go ahead. We got a little extra time. Did somebody have a quick question? I see a few people still there on mute. So go ahead and unmute yourself if you want. We could ask a question or two, or we'll just take a quick pause for a quick break. Do some jumping jacks or whatever you want to do, because we're going to have Susanna next, who's going to be talking about raising capital, structuring deals, syndications, and more. All right, so let's do this. If I don't see anybody question or come off mute, we'll take like a 3 to 5 minute break. Anybody going once? Twice? All right, let's take a 3 to 5 minute break, a stretch break. Grab a fresh cup of coffee, a drink, a snack, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and pause, but be back because Susanna has incredible information you don't want to miss out. So I'm going to pause the recording as well. So we are back recording, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if you don't want to be on the recording, leave your cameras off and your microphones off. We are recording, and super excited to have Susanna. I've known Susanna for a couple of years now. She's always there for me 24/7. I could text her, call her, email her. She's one of the most reliable people I know. And on top of that, you're welcome. You're welcome. And on top of that, like I said, you got to know your lane. What is your strengths? And also, what do you hate? What should you delegate? I could figure out numbers, I understand, but there's other people out there better. And Susanna's definitely the person I go to. All right. So, folks, ladies and gentlemen, again, we're talking about raising capital, structuring, deal syndications, and more. So, Susanna, did you want me to share my screen or do you want to share your screen?
I think I do. I tried to play with it just now. Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay, so let me go ahead and you could hit share screen now and
Okay, I can try it. 1 second. I think I was playing with it earlier.
So glad you're here, Mike, Kristen, Adi. Sweet. Yeah, looks like it's gonna work.
Okay.
Perfect, perfect. Let's get a thumbs up, guys. Could you see her screen or say perfect, Adi? Thank you so much. All right, so they can see your screen. And ladies and gentlemen, Susanna Royce.
Thank you. So I've been in commercial real estate for a couple of decades. Mostly I focus, kind of my day job is the financing side, which is really truly so important to understand if you're going to get into it, because it's the key to everything, right? Real estate by itself is great, but with leverage, that's when it really becomes, that's why everybody's doing it, right? I mean, people are buying real estate for cash, but in the commercial space, it's not really as prevalent as sometimes you'll see it in the residential markets. So I urge everybody to please join our school community, because we're going to be doing live calls on commercial financing. Having said that, the other kind of magical thing about commercial real estate potentially is, you know, how do you buy it, right? So everybody needs capital to purchase, you know, any type of an asset. So one of the structures that is very popular and used by a lot of people who've just have had tremendous success. If you guys ever want to hear any of the stories of my clients or myself of using this exact strategy, basically syndicating, that you can eventually graduate to funds, it really unlocks basically kind of access to unlimited money, and strongly limits or completely eliminates the need for the investor or the sponsor to have cash of their own. So I'm just going to dive right in. So we're talking about OPM, right? So OPM, you have the debt, which is your loan, and then you have the equity, the down payment. So how do you use OPM for the down payment? That's what basically this presentation is about. Okay, so we'll go through a quick intro, why raising capital is a game changer, what a syndication is and why it works. And what you learned today is the key structures for these syndications, some very basic legal and financial basics, how to find investors, and how to pitch and close this. So again, when you master this, this will truly change how you view commercial real estate. So what is a syndication? Syndication is a group investment structure where multiple investors pool funds. It's very common in commercial real estate due to large capital needs. So typically commercial real estate tends to cost more than residential, unless of course you live in some parts of California. Why use a syndication? You will have access to larger deals. So let's say you yourself have a capital to invest of 100, 250,000, you know, 500,000, whatever it may be. Even $1 million will limit you at a gross ratio of, let's say, 75-25 or 70-30 bank loan to equity. Then you're buying what, $3 million deals maybe, right? But commercial real estate has price tags far north of that. You also are sharing the risk. So typically, I mean, all the risks have to be carefully calculated and documented. So you want to make sure that you have a good chance of, you know, making money with your commercial real estate, and it is real estate at the end of the day. So the risks are quite different than if you were buying equities, for example. But the OPM, the other people's money, allows scalability. So everybody in the room, let's say, loves commercial real estate. They want to do more commercial real estate, but they also want to buy and own commercial real estate, or they want clients who can do repeat transactions. So one of the things in real estate in general, but specifically in commercial real estate, is that these transactions don't happen daily or weekly or monthly, right? So you will get a client, and that client is only going to buy whatever, I mean, buy once or twice every, what, 3-5 years. But once you kind of crack the code to commercial real estate, well, how do you keep that going? How do you scale that, right? There's always that bottleneck, which is equity. So the debt is available. It's always there. That's what we're really good at. We can navigate you through that. You're always going to get a bank as long as you're buying one of some of the main food groups. Also, I advise go where the money is. You know, don't try to buy something that banks don't like to finance. So we can go through that. But the OPM allows you to scale. So this is truly, I can't overstate how much of a key to unlocking the wealth that is real estate is in syndication, OPM, and other structures. But here specifically, we're just going to talk about syndication. So it gives passive investment opportunities to attract busy professionals. And so in my career, I've done countless loans for syndications, and then I've also syndicated myself. I've also invested with other syndicators. So I've kind of, you know, been involved in that whole side of the transactions, and I can tell you that one of your best kind of sources for these funds are those busy professionals who know just instinctively. Everybody knows real estate is obviously a very good vehicle to building wealth. It's a fairly safe investment just because it's secured with real assets, but these busy professionals just don't have the time to deal with it, oversee it, find it, figure it all out. So they're happy to give you money to invest in real estate. Common deal structures. So you can have straight equity splits. I put 70-30 here as an example because my own have been 70-30, 60-40. I've done a couple of 80-20s. But I want you guys to know, and I'm sure our business school graduate here has probably learned this in school, the vanilla, the most commonly used equity split is 80-20, meaning that let's say you have a $10 million asset that you're trying to buy and you're getting a 70% loan to value. So you get a $7 million loan. And so now that down payment, that equity requirement is $3 million. So this equity split is talking strictly about the down payment. That is split, in my example, 70-30. It's up to the sponsor to determine what that equity split is. But in the public markets, and even mostly in private markets also, 80-20 is the most commonly used split. So you will hear that. The 20% carry, and then there's, you know, some other fees associated with that the sponsor will take advantage of. So then what does that look like, right? So let's say you are talking to an investor who you have found, let's say, a $10 million apartment building. You are now $3 million short on closing the deal. And granted, it would be better if it was 75-25, but I don't believe in squeezing every last drop of juice in the deal. Number one, it's super annoying for everybody involved when somebody starts pushing that hard. Not that you can't do it, but my own personal preference, and I'll tell you why. The biggest reason being is that you want to have room in the deal. It's called risk mitigation. Yes, it affects your return on investment. It affects your IRR, but I would strongly suggest that there's always a little bit of room because the markets move up and down, as Joe kind of mentioned earlier. The reason why now is the good time to buy because, you know, the markets are rocky. So have room in there because if for some reason your deal goes south, like it's really hard to recover from that. So it's better to have your deals go through, everybody makes their money, and then just move on to the next one because this is basically the opportunity is to scale, not to be super hard on, you know, maximizing your profit. So different philosophies there. Don't hold me to it. Let me give you an example of how it is then structured, right? So you're going to this investor, they're willing to give you, let's say, $100,000. So what do they get in return? So this is entirely up to the sponsor. So you will create all of your documents and your offer based on what you want to offer and what the asset is capable of producing. So just to talk vanilla terms, so let's say that asset is producing a 10% return, cash flow. So you're going to offer the investor, let's say, again, I'm pulling these numbers just out of thin air. These are roughly things that we have done before, but let's say you're offering an 8% preferred rate of return. And then over and above that, it's a 70-30 split. right? And it could be any variation of this. This is really truly what you think your investors are going to want, what they're going to tolerate. But in this example, the 8% return, so they give you $100,000, you're going to give them, provided the cash flow is there, 8% return per year. How you pay out, again, is up to you, whether it's monthly, quarterly, yearly. Again, different investments call for different things, but 8% per year, provided the returns are there. If the asset produced, let's say 10%, then that leaves the other 2%. So the other 2% would then be split 70-30 or 80-20, or again, depending on your documentation. And that's called a waterfall. And the reason why it's called a waterfall is because as the money starts being generated, right, it goes through these hurdles, it flows through the hurdles. So who gets paid first, who gets paid second, are there bonuses for the sponsorship team at the end? And again, these get kind of complicated. I'm happy to answer questions. And we're going to be going over a lot of this stuff in our school community on live calls. There's no course. We're going to hold your hand. We're going to coach you through it. So who is on the syndication team? So let's just say any of the people that are on this call here, they have found this asset that is going to provide a great return, and they want to share these returns with their investors. So the sponsor is the general partner, right? So that's you. You have found the deal. You're going to put the team together and raise the money to buy this deal. So that's your general partner. Your limited partners are your investors that are going to basically come up with the $3 million. And generally the sponsor and the GPs also are putting in some of their own cash, but it honestly can be quite minimal. Sometimes banks will have requirements on there, but it's not a lot. Just to give you an example, some of my clients were buying $8 to $15 million buildings, and their cash requirement was only $50,000. And sometimes it can be less, sometimes it can be more. So you need to obviously have legal counsel. So important to remember that these types of vehicles are regulated by the SEC. So you need to find a regulation in the SEC code under which you're going to operate. So those are the most common ones are 506B, 506C. There's all differences as far as who can be your investor and what that has to look like. So that legal counsel must be there, and they're also going to prepare all of your documents. And I think I have a slide on what those documents are. So you need a CPA who's going to then file the tax returns, because this is obviously going to be its own separate entity. And it's also good to have some kind of bookkeeping. You really want to document everything, because number one, you're operating under a legal structure, and your investors are going to want to see what you're doing. So then you need a property manager. I can't stress how important this is. Over and above the property manager, guys, as a sponsor, it is your duty to manage your assets. So you have to watch the operations. If you need to switch out property management or make any kind of adjustments, it's up to you. You're in charge. You're now responsible for delivering a return to your investors. You're not required to deliver a return, but you have to provide a reason for people to want to buy this asset with you. So the general partner responsibilities, I've already kind of jumped ahead. So find the deal, underwrite and perform due diligence. This is where you really need to understand your commercial real estate and know what is a good deal and what isn't. And how are you going to, in the end, make money? So it's great to find an asset that's already cash flowing. Everybody wants the one that cash flows at 10%, because those are so easy. Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy. I take that back. But easier to syndicate. But some assets just don't provide a 10% return. So they might be value add. You might have to rehab them. Let's say if we get away from multifamily, but let's say it's now a commercial building, and it may be empty. It may not have a tenant, but you know that you have a tenant. And as soon as you put that tenant in, just to reference to what Joe was talking about, now you have increased the net operating income, and you slap that prevailing cap rate on that deal, you now massively increased value. I have a couple of clients that do this, and they're very, very successful doing this. In addition, it is now your responsibility to raise capital. I believe that this is probably the most stressful part of the process. You are advised to start with a game plan on how you're going to do this, because in a syndication, you're going to be under considerable time crunch. And then you're going to execute the business plan. So this is all on you, but in return for all of these efforts, remember, you're being rewarded 20% of the upside without having 20% of the equity in it. And not only that, but it allows you then, with some success, you're going to get more and more investors, and it allows you again to scale this. There's thousands of syndicators, thousands of funds. Hedge funds operate this way, for example. And so you can operate this way basically on private equity and real estate. That's what this would be called. Again, it has kind of been a secret vehicle, but now with social media and the internet, there's actually quite a bit of information available on this. And a lot of people who normally wouldn't have access to this kind of stuff are aware of it and are doing it, and are very successful. I will tell you, just as an example, my most successful clients who have leveraged syndications to massively life-changing success have been W-2 employees that are looking to, trade their, W-2 income for either long-term hold or just, generate the cash by buying and selling these assets. What are investors looking for? Number one is trust and experience. Again, Joe had mentioned before, you guys really need to be very aware of who you're doing business with. I mean, the landscape is littered with stories of people who have gotten into this and went sideways and didn't perform and then are getting sued, or, things going sideways. But there's probably multiples of that where sponsors have done this and it has been working for them for many decades and or generations. So trust and experience is number one. And I can tell you, if you're approaching an investor, if you don't already know them, if they don't already trust you, that's the first thing they're going to verify before they even will engage in any type of conversation. Transparent communication is key. As soon as you start ghosting them, go silent, that's when you start having problems. Solid returns and mitigated risk. So again, the returns can be, they're like different flavors of that, right? There are people who are strictly looking for a passive cash flow. So they just want to write a check for 100,000 and just, send me my 8% return every year. And that's what they're looking for. But not every asset can provide that, right? And a lot of assets, especially as you hold them kind of longer term, your money comes when you exit. That's really when everybody starts seeing kind of that's when your IRR, internal rate of return, kind of blows up. And you need to be able to model this for your investors. They're going to ask you questions. I can tell you that recently investors have really gravitated more toward asset preservation rather than double-digit returns. So that's very favorable for sponsors that are looking to do this. And then clear exit strategy. What is your exit strategy? Let me just go back there real quick. Are you going to buy and hold? I mean, even a buy and hold, when you have investors, eventually it has to have an exit strategy. Or are you going to rehab and sell and essentially kind of flip it? That works quite well if you're buying commercial real estate and then you get like a single tenant triple net in there and with a 10-year lease, then now you can exit because you've already added value and you're not going to get that big step up after that. So again, different assets kind of call for different strategies. Let's talk about the legal just real quick. Again, you guys are going to need to work with an attorney. We have 3 or 4 that we worked with in the past. Most of them are very reputable. They know what they're doing, but they are securities. So the Reg D exemptions that I mentioned earlier, part of the SEC code, the most widely used are 506B versus 506C. There's many differences, but also many similarities. The 506B allows you to accept funds from non-accredited investors up to a certain number of those. but you cannot advertise the deal. You can't solicit at all. The 506C restricts you to only allowing accredited investors, but you're allowed to talk about it and speak about it and solicit for those. Accredited versus non-accredited. Accredited just means you have to have an income of 250,000 or a net worth of, oh my gosh, I'm really blanking out. Joe, do you know what it is? Is it 2 million, 5 million? You muted.
I believe it's 2 million.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I just you blanked out. So always work with an attorney and stick to the rules. All right. What kind of documents are you going to need in order to put one of these together? Is the private placement memorandum. Again, all of these are going to be prepared by your attorney. I just wanted to show you, what they are. The operating agreement, and you're probably going to have like 3 LLCs doing this. One is going to hold the asset, another one underneath it is going to be the management company, and then the third one is going to be for your LPs. And the operating agreement is going to spell out everything. All of your investors are going to have to sign these 4 documents. The subscription agreement, they have to acknowledge the risk they're taking, and the investor questionnaire, just to make sure that they know what they're getting into and are they really qualified. All right, so this is the $100 million question. How do you find investors? I can tell you, if you can do this, the world is your oyster. And it's actually not as complicated as people think. Is it just most people don't start out with a game plan. So start with your network as always, which is, again, I'm going back to Joe. Everything he's saying is so true, because your net worth is your network, and always be expanding through your network. What I can tell you about starting with your network. So my very first syndicated deal just so surprised me, because number one, my attorney ended up investing with us, and I don't know if he felt obligated because we were clients or he really liked the deal, but he invested, and then he went and played golf with some other attorneys and told them about this deal, so they ended up investing. And then one of our other investors that was in our network already, he invested. We were still not completely subscribed, right? But people talk about their investments. So a lot of times they're going to bring you referrals. So this is, you guys must work your network. I will tell you, when we have a happy hour, maybe one of these days, or maybe on our live calls, some of the crazy stories. My biggest deal, I was talking to who I didn't know, but was going to become my partner. And I wanted referrals for buildings for me to buy. I was looking for much smaller ones. And he said, no, I'm buying this 216 unit building. And I'm like, well, I don't have the money for it. Like, how do I fit in? And he just said, well, go find the money, go raise the money. And it was such a split-second decision. I knew that what my answer was going to be was really going to have an impact on my future, and I just jumped in. I had no idea how to do it. I've never done it, just no clue. And I just said, okay, well, I mean, let me just try it, right? And we do teach on the process, on how to go through that, and the steps and the plans that we have found successful in the past. You can leverage social media and thought leadership. I see a lot of syndicators doing that right now. I'm not sure what success they're having, because the issue here is that whole trust and experience. I'm so sorry, my phone's going off. But that is available to you. Email newsletters are great, especially once you have your first deal under your belt. When you start working on the second one, it's just, people are going to invest with you over and over. So that has been very successful. Webinars and educational events. I can tell you that my most successful client has done everything with webinars and educational events. And it's a very simple structure. Again, we can provide you more information on, and like a whole blueprint. Credibility. How do you find credibility? So this is a hurdle that a lot of kind of first-time sponsors have to overcome. It's not complicated. You just need to know how to navigate it. Again, we kind of can show you the map on how to get there if you're a beginner, but typically this involves, you need to share your past deals and or hypothetical examples. So if you don't have past deals, again, there's like a map that we have some options. And like I said, again, nothing is easy, but we're talking about unlimited access to capital here. So I would suggest you guys put the effort into it. So partner with experienced operators that will give you the credibility, because you know you can legit say, look, I haven't done it, but my partner has done it and I'm just assisting him in raising the money. And then once you have been part of that sponsor group once, now that goes on your resume, now that's a past deal, you can talk about the outcomes, and it changes the vibe completely. And then publish your track record. Look at Joe. He's got more social proof than some of the people that I deal with. How do you pitch the deal? Focus on the story, market, assets, and the team. So the market right now, that's what I was kind of trying to get into earlier. A lot of people are hesitating currently because interest rates have gone up and the buyers and sellers kind of not seeing eye to eye yet, you know, on that discrepancy between, you know, where the true value should be right now, where the buyer meets the seller. However, I would say most sponsorship deals are more long-term type of vehicles for most of the time, probably 5 to 7 years, I would say. So, and that's where the market will kind of smooth things out for you. So you may not be able to deliver that 10% return your first year, especially if things are slow, but you will get there within a 5 to 7 year period. You will likely get there. If you don't, then that probably is not the deal for you. And then don't forget that you make most of your money on the exit. So that's usually when you really get the big bump on your internal rate of return. Use a simple investor-friendly pitch deck. Pitch deck is kind of the standard, but I've seen people raise money with literally just a one-page flyer. It depends on your story, and just keep it very simple, very concise. And what will help you a lot is being part of these groups where people are actively looking. Highlight the returns, highlight the risks, and the timeline. Every investor has to be clear on that, even though your documents are going to say that there's no guarantee, but you need to set the expectations. Very, very important lesson I learned. One of my deals, I was projecting a 34% rate of return, which is extremely high. I don't recommend pitching it. Actually, my attorney said, don't pitch that. Just don't even try to talk about that being a target, because most people don't believe that to be true. And that was a kind of a one-off deal where I got a really good deal in a really great area. He said, you know, stick to the teens. So anywhere in the teens that you think you can deliver, stick to that, because if you over deliver, everybody's going to be happy. So I'll tell you what happened. We came in at 33% internal rate of return, and my investors were upset. They would have been ecstatic if I had but if I had projected 15% and delivered 33, but because I projected 34 and I delivered 33, I had some sour faces at the end of the deal, and that I will never forget that. Don't do it. And then Q&A, and so practice your pitch. Yeah, again, Joe and I are here to assist anyone who wants to go down that road. The capital raise process, so pre-raise education. Again, so you're going to be under a time crunch to do it. So you need to spend some time kind of warming up your potential investors in, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm looking for a deal. I'm looking for either self-storage, or I'm looking for multifamily, or I'm looking for industrial. Whatever it is, and just kind of get the conversation going, so that when you do find the deal and you're approaching your potential investor, you can't just say, hey, I've got a deal, I need this money now, right? It's just not how it's done. So when you're going to launch, you need to pitch them a follow-up cadence as far as what is the progression of them becoming an investor. And then get soft commits. And believe me that even your soft commits are not gonna all turn to hard funds, but it's always good to be oversubscribed and have the money than to be undersubscribed. How to handle investor funds. Use a third-party escrow company. Never commingle funds. It's like a legal nightmare, especially if things don't always go according to plan. If you have the third parties verify that you're doing everything above board, that will save you a lot of headache. Never ever commingle. Follow the SEC compliance. Honestly, it's not that hard once you guys, and you will have, you know, people on your team and advisors, CPAs and attorneys guiding you. Regular investor updates are huge, kind of mandatory actually. So sample timeline, you're going to deal source, let's say 30 to 60 days. And even in this market, honestly, it's not hard to find deals. Just find one that you really have spent a lot of time underwriting, do your due diligence, you believe in it, and then just make a decision, I'm going for it. You want to underwrite the deal, let's say 7 to 14 days. Your capital raise, typically you will only have about 30 days. So from the time you go under contract until you close, you will likely have closer to 60 days, but you don't want to be at the closing table without having the funds committed. Exit strategies. So the first one is one of my favorites, right? You can refinance it, pay out your investors, and you keep the asset. It's not, doesn't always work. It works with smaller deals, maybe, where your investors are okay with it, because a lot of times your investors are going to say, well, why are you doing that? Because you're walking away with the asset. There's still meat on the bone and we want it. So this only works for a specific type of investor, but I have done it. The most common one is a sale, and you do the sale by the book, and then you have the funds and the proceeds go through the waterfall that you outlined at the beginning. You can hold for cash flow. Again, this is, well, there's actually quite a few investors that really like this, but eventually there needs to be some sort of exit for them because these are very illiquid assets. Just make sure that you're communicating exit plans early and often. Case study example. So hypothetical deal, I think I've already given you guys. But yeah, I can talk about some of the small ones that might be easy to get into. So this was actually a portfolio of single family homes, but you can use this for multifamily. I think that was like 22 homes, something like that. So our structure was 70-30 until the investors reach a 15% return to them. And as soon as they do, then we flipped it 30-70 in favor of the sponsors. And that provided a great incentive for the sponsors to work harder and generate as much cash as possible. And our investors love that structure because it really incentivized the general partners, the people who are in charge running with the deal, to be super diligent and do everything by the book and deliver the biggest return possible. With that, capital was raised strictly from our network. We just talked to a couple of people, and then they talked to people, and then they talked to people, and that was done. That was actually a pretty simple capital raise, maybe not the best example. I already talked about the structure. And we actually still have all of those investors doing other deals with us today. So syndication is a powerful way to scale using other people's money. Know the legal and investor expectations. Be transparent and reliable. If you guys have any questions, I'm open to it.
All right, go ahead and unmute yourself, guys. If you have a question, feel free to unmute your microphone. That was a lot of information, and this is exactly why I want you to join the community, because we're going to take it a step further, folks. And we really appreciate your interest in commercial real estate and investing. There's no way we could get everything covered. That's why, as I mentioned, my book, my workbook, Susanna, myself, Jesse, Eric, we're all committed to helping you guys out. Any questions, go ahead and put it on the chat or unmute yourself. And I see our amazing folks still here. That's a good sign, Susanna. So good. All right. I don't see any questions, Susanna. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, guys. Going once, going twice. No? All right, I'm going to share my screen because I kind of went through this pretty quickly, and I want you to realize this slide, okay? 4 and 5, maximum allowable offer. All right, you need to put together a really solid spreadsheet or use one of those softwares that are out there when you're looking at deals. okay? Because when you make an offer, Bill Bronchick, he's going to be coming up very, very soon. You're going to start with what we call a letter of intent, an LOI first, okay? But I want you to think, what is my maximum allowable offer that I'm going to make on this property? Because like I said, anticipate the market going up or down. The people 2-3 years ago that made offers and acquired some of these properties, especially like these multifamilies and syndications, unfortunately miscalculated. So you want to really, really run those numbers, do a rent survey, talk to the top brokers like Eric Rose, Jesse, myself, in the areas that understand the different asset classes, cap rates, and run your calculations. ARV, in single family, we typically say that's after repair value. You want to buy low, sell high. Okay. In commercial real estate, we typically say that's after reposition value, after reposition value. So you might take a motel hotel and turn it into office suites. Okay. So that would probably be what we call also the pro forma, the future value of the property when it's optimized or fully stabilized. Okay. Figure if you're going to be using hard money, private money, retirement funds, seller carry, you want to bake that into your formula, because I know in fix and flip single family, you usually want a 60-day, 90-day, or a 6-month turnaround. In commercial property, you might be looking to fix and flip, but it's 12 to 18 months. Or typically, if you're doing a syndication, what most people will tell you is we'll probably turn this and go full cycle 7 to 10 years. A syndicator is hoping to get out in 3 to 5 or less, but they're smart. A very seasoned operator, syndicator should say 7 to 10, with under promising and over delivering. So when you want to start playing this game, I really want you to start thinking about these different strategies, and not over promise and under deliver. Because if you do that, you're one and done typically. You're one deal, one fix, one flip, one development, you're one and done. So always under promise, over deliver. How do you do that? By mitigating your risk, knowing your MAO, knowing your ARV, and then talking to Susanna. There's been multiple syndicators call us. We run it through our system. We are like, that's a red flag. Maybe you should do this or this. You know what? That deal looks incredible. Go for it. And then they get their loan. So anything else that you wanted to add, Susanna?
No, I think you really kind of speak to how to create the value here. But honestly, I think a lot of people overthink it because they think they have to have some amazing deal that's going to just like change their life. And really, the magic is in being able to do multiple deals. And I can tell you that once you are in a deal and you start kind of sharing the cash flow, your investors are going to not only come back for more, but they're going to bring you more investors. Your biggest deal, your biggest issue is going to be finding new deals for them to get into. So again, this thing really does have a momentum, but it's something that you have to focus on. So I've seen people who kind of start doing this pretty in a very dedicated manner, but kind of on the side because people have, and this honestly is such a great fit for W-2 employees too, right? Because they already have that network that they don't even realize they have. But once they sit with us and we kind of show them like where do you start and what's the map on getting there, I have seen countless times a lot of success for people doing this. And my biggest success story was a gentleman who was an engineer, started getting into this and did everything right, you know, really made it his mission to keep an eye on everything, make sure he's delivering good deals. He exited 5 years later for 350 million for his entire group, not just for him. So his cut was at least 20% of that. But he called me and he said, I made a big mistake because he was so focused on that exit. And then it was actually a portfolio of multifamily. It was very complicated. He dropped the ball on getting a new deal for his investors to go to. So all of his investors, all of a sudden it's raining money. Everybody gets their checks and their wires, but there's no place to put it. So what are they going to do? They need another place. So they ended up kind of, getting into other investments outside of what he was providing. So it is a journey, and it's incredibly rewarding. And you can really cut down on the frustration by making sure that your advisors know what they're doing.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like about time to take that quick break. If you wanted to, we could sit back here and answer a few more questions. I see the man, the myth, the legend in the house, Mr. Bill Bronchick. How are you, sir? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm unmuted now. Thank you. I am wonderful.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. So any last questions on that last topic with Susanna? Feel free to ask it, and we'll be having Mr. Bronchick speak up next. And guys, fasten the seatbelts on. He's written multiple books, like I mentioned, Financing Secrets of a Millionaire Real Estate Investor, an expert on subject 2. You want to start doing deals. I've referred on many clients of mine. Creative financing. He is the man, the myth, the legend. So any questions before we jump into it? You could do a stretch break, a bio break, coffee break, whatever. No? I think they're ready. Bill, you want to jump right in?
I could do that. You just got to give me a second to get my PowerPoint up.
Yeah. Take your time. Take your time. We're way ahead of schedule. So
all right. Do you want to take a break now? It's up to everybody else. If you want to take a break and go back, or I can start now. It's up to everybody else.
Okay, let's take a 3-minute break, guys. 3-minute break like last time. Who heard the music last time? Because I kind of experimenting with that. Did you guys? It came out okay? All right. Okay, I'm gonna play some music and bring you guys back in about 3 minutes. So hang tight. We're gonna get the tech set up for Bill, and we'll be right back.
Great, thank you.
Shoots up through the stony ground. There's no room, no space to rent in this town. Out of luck, and the reason that you had to pay, the traffic was stuck, and you're not moving anywhere. You thought you found a friend to take you out of this place, so you can lend a hand in return for grace. It's a beautiful imagination, the love is down. That doesn't been all over, and it's been all over you. It's a beautiful day.
All right, all right. Hopefully you guys took that quick break, grabbed some snacks, jumped around, did some jumping jacks. So we're ready to bring it right back. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. And I'm going to share my screen. All right, folks, could everybody see my screen? Maybe test. People, everybody still there? All right. All right. So next, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into creative financing strategies, seller financing, lease options, master leases, subject to wraparound mortgages, using OPM, other people's money, syndications, joint ventures, partnerships. We have, folks, the amazing Mr. Bill Bronchick, and he's an attorney, nationwide known, nationally known, accomplished author of multiple books, like I mentioned, national authority on creative finance, subject to and more, professional speaker and investor himself, Mr. Bill Bronchick. How are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe. You read it just like my mother wrote it. It was perfect. Perfect.
My pleasure.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you inviting me into this event. And of course, everybody who's attending, I appreciate you being here and soaking up great information, which have been happening all morning, and going to continue that by discussing some commercial creative real estate financing. And as Joe mentioned, I've been an attorney, real estate investor. I'll go a little bit more in my bio in a bit, but wanted to start with my favorite Zen proverb: to know and not to do is not to know. So if you learn something really important, or two or three or four maybe things, and you don't take action on them right away and put them into practice, then you're going to forget. You're not going to learn the way to do it, and it'll be a waste of your time from being here. The whole idea here is not just to listen and watch and say that's really interesting or entertaining, but to take away things that you could actually put into practice and make more money for you and your family. If you want to put it in Bible terms, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty, said the famous Solomon in Proverbs 14:23. So again, it's taking action, it's taking the next step, it's moving on to putting these things into practice that's going to make you not only better at it, but it's going to make you money. So my goal for you during this session, we're going to have about 45 minutes together or so, is to learn the concepts of creative real estate finance, and of course, take action on it ASAP. And as we go, are you going to do Q&A at the end of the session, Joe, or do we do it as we go? Or how does that work?
Yeah, everybody has been pretty active on holding back on the questions, so you could do it at the end if you want.
I'll do it at the I'll do it at the end. I'll be happy to take as many questions as you guys like. I am a licensed attorney, but I won't have the clock running, so hey, it's a freebie for you guys. So take advantage. Take advantage. So a little bit about me. Joe gave you a little bio. I've been an attorney for 34 years. I've been a real estate investor for 32 years. So it only took me 2 years of practicing law to figure out hey, I want to do something more than just charge a lot of money an hour, because people think that attorneys are really wealthy. And, a lot of attorneys are, depending on what type of practice you do. But the average attorney who just practices law doesn't really make that good of a living, especially compared to people who are real estate investors, developers, who are in the thick of it. And I started out pretty much practicing on my own as soon as I got my license, which was January of 1991. I was admitted to the bar. Graduated from law school in 1990. This was in New York. It takes a long time to get your license. So as soon as I got my license, I went out on my own and I started doing pretty much anything you can get as a young attorney in my practice. And I kind of fell into real estate sort of by accident because I shared an office suite with a bunch of attorneys who did real estate, and there were certain things that they didn't like to do or didn't want to do or didn't have the time to do, so they would give it to me, and I started getting involved in real estate. And I realized pretty quickly that although I made pretty good money as an attorney, the real money is getting involved in your clients' real estate and business deals. That's what I learned from these attorneys is that, hey, you can make a good living, it'll pay the bills, you'll do all right. But if you want to get some serious wealth, you got to start getting involved in business and real estate transactions, because that's going to bring you money when you can't, not willing to, or unable to work. Because as an attorney, I mean, my hourly rate is almost $500 an hour. And a lot of people think that's a lot of money, but I don't care if you're making $500 an hour or you make 20 an hour. It's still trading hours for dollars. If you stop working, the money stops coming. So although, I do enjoy a good living, to some extent from my hourly rate, which frankly is the worst use of my time. And the thing I hate the most in my business is just people paying me for my time by the hour. Because I mean, like, look what I'm doing here. I'm leveraging much better talking to many people at once, as opposed to talking to people one-on-one by the hour, and doing types of transactions that involve business and real estate that I do in addition to my law practice that has really made me the money. So I started really quickly realizing that I didn't want to be practicing law my whole life, or at least full time. And certainly didn't want to be doing the things I don't like to do just so I can make a living and work a lot of hours to do so. And real estate, I saw, was a ticket to bringing in that passive income and the real financial freedom, which is having money earn money, and then assets pay you even though you're not working. And that's really the key to financial success and financial freedom. So I started immediately investing in real estate, and I've been doing it ever since. Some years it's full time, some years it's part time, some years it's a little bit of everything. So I split my time between a couple of things, between my law practice, my real estate investing, and then doing stuff like this, writing books, speaking at conventions and events and things like that. So I've been involved in real estate. I've done residential, commercial, and I've owned many, many apartments, self-storage, mobile home parks, lots and lots of single families, condominiums, you name it. I've pretty much done it. The only thing I haven't done, frankly, is a car wash, and I really want one. I don't want to buy a car wash where you put the quarters in, and you know how like you put like $3 in quarters, and then at the end of 5 minutes it goes beep, 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 and you're rushing to get your car done. Well, you take those out and swap them with credit card swipers, so there's no beeping. People are running in there, taking their time, texting people, talking on the phone for 15 minutes, running up the bill. That's what I want. Anybody comes across one of those, let me know, please. I'll give you my contact info at the end. I've written 6 best-selling books on real estate from major publishers. These are some of them. You can find them on all the major booksellers or on my website at legalwiz.com. Flipping Properties was the first one I wrote in 2001, and then revised about 10 years later and became a bestseller. And then I have many other books on real estate related topics as well. I've been interviewed on all major media, CNBC, Fox, Time Magazine, Money Magazine. Some of these were a few pounds ago, but yeah, I've been there. I've been interviewed and featured in all these various publications, Time Magazine, Money Magazine, Wall Street Journal, so on and so forth. And I don't say this to impress you, but to press upon you, that I have a wealth of experience, both in the professional realm and also as an investor personally over the last 35 years. So, by the way, my brother from another mother. I always get someone says, "You know who you look like?" Yeah, I know who I look like. Yeah, I know. So they say real estate is about location, location, location. We've been all had that drilled into our brains since day one of real estate. That's true. Real estate is still about location, location, location. I live in Colorado. I'm just waiting for the San Andreas Fault to just, collapse, and then that whole California falls into the ocean and I'm oceanfront. So that's location, location. Till that happens, I got some other plans. So it's important. Yes, it is. But it's just as important financing, financing, financing. It's because if you can't get the money, doesn't matter where it's located. You need money to buy real estate. Now, it doesn't have to be your money. Doesn't have to be out of your own pocket. There's plenty of ways to buy real estate. People say you can buy real estate without money. That's not true. You need money. You need somebody's money. It doesn't have to be your money. So buying real estate, no money down isn't necessarily, the seller doesn't get any money. It just means no money down out of your pocket. And there's plenty of ways to do that, as we'll talk about. Right? So leverage is the key to wealth. That is really the key. And in very simple terms, for those of you who are more beginner, just look at if you bought some sort of property. It's shaped like a home, but if we were in California, that little home would be $1 million, maybe two. Let's say you bought a home for $1 million cash or whatever real estate asset, and you sold it for 100 grand more, $1.1 million a year later, you'd make 100,000 profit, which is a 10% return. Everyone can do that math. If you take $1 million and then you add 100,000 to it, that's 1/10 or 10% return per year, which is, by the way, not bad. Now, obviously, I've omitted there's transactional costs, there's brokers' fees and things like that, but I'm just trying to make a point here and keep the math simple. But instead, if you took that down amount that you had, that $1 million, instead of buying one property, bought 4 properties with $250,000 down on each, 25%, and then borrowed $750,000 or 75% on each one. Now you have debt against the properties, you have leverage, but you also going to have income as you rent it out to cover that. And let's say that's break even, for argument's sake, for a year. Just break even. You didn't make money, you didn't lose money, just break even. And then after a year, you sold those same 4 properties for 100,000 profit each, for a total of 1.4 million, which means you made 400,000 profit on your million, which is a 40% return. And that is what it's all about. It's simple concept of leverage. If you buy cash, you're getting the worst return on your money. If you leverage, the more you leverage, the more you're going to make on your money, assuming, of course, the financing that you're using in any way, shape, or form is less than the rate of return of the asset. So let me say that again. If you're earning 8% per annum on your real estate and your loan is 6%, that means you're making 2% and it makes sense to leverage. If your property is producing 5% and the interest rate on the loan is 10, you're losing money. It doesn't make sense to leverage. Does that make sense? So as long as your rate of return exceeds the cost of borrowing, it always makes sense to leverage. Now, I know there's people out there in certain circles, like, people like Dave Ramsey, who say, no, never borrow, debt is evil, blah, 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 and I understand his audience and people like that, Susie Orman, etc. They're trying to get people off their credit cards. But leverage is different from consumer spending or consumer debt. Leverage is using money to make money. And of course, we all know Donald Trump is the king of that. What did he do in 1986 when he was upside down on all of his properties and casinos? He was worth 0. Literally, a newspaper reporter caught up with him and said, Donald, how's the finances going? He said, and he points to a guy pushing a shopping cart full of soda cans and says, that guy's worth 800 million more than me. So, and how did he get out? He went to the banks and said, you're going to lend me more money. And that's how he dug himself out of that hole, by leverage, by borrowing more money. There's an old expression: if you owe the bank 100 grand and you can't pay, you got a problem. But if you owe a bank 800 million and you can't pay, they've got a problem. So that is the key to wealth. It is leverage. It is getting as much as you can with as little cash as possible, and then getting the growth, appreciation, and cash flow from all of that real estate. So it's kind of like the path of least resistance. You could save your way to $1 million in a 3% CD. Good luck. Or you can borrow $1 million, buy $1 million worth of real estate, and let your tenants pay it back. It's really the path of least resistance, because people think of borrowing as a bad thing. I mean, I even heard Dave Ramsey say the other day, I was watching a video, I was clicking through, he said, you shouldn't buy investment property unless you pay all cash and your home is paid for. That's probably one of the dumbest pieces of advice I've ever heard. If you had wanted to buy, let's say, a $500,000 house, and you saved $50,000 a year for 10 years to buy that house, what's it going to be worth? It's going to be worth $1 million in 10 years. So now that 500,000 wasn't enough, and you would have missed 10 years of appreciation, of course. So I'm a big fan of leverage, as long as it's within your comfort zone. You're not over leveraged. You're not personally on the hook for too much. The more you leverage, I think the better, especially in commercial real estate. Now, there's some traditional financing options we've all seen in commercial and in residential real estate as well. And they are your big commercial banks, your Wells Fargo, Chase, the big commercial banks. And then you have your local commercial banks, your branch banks in your community, who might have, anywhere from 20 to 50 branches throughout a state or a city. You've got Fannie and Freddie, are in the commercial game as well. FHA for multifamily, kind of hard to get, though. I've tried many times to get an FHA loan for an apartment building, and I failed miserably. I'll tell you about that sometime. And then you've, of course, got SBA. If you're an owner operator of a business that owns real estate too, then you can get an SBA loan. But that's only if you're like, you own let's say an oil change store, and you want to buy that and buy the building too. So you'd get an SBA loan for something like that in a commercial sense. Okay, you couldn't get that without being the operator of the building and of the business. So those are some of the traditional financing options. Let's talk about the problem here. The problem is how to buy lots of properties without traditional bank financing, because it's hard to get, let's be honest. And the interest rates aren't as good as they used to be. There's no more 3%, no more 4%, no more 5%, no more 6%. And it's not going to be that low anytime soon. So, what are we going to do? Just wait for interest rates to come down and miss out? That's silly. I say fire your bank and use creative financing. So let's talk a little bit about that. The first thing is seller financing, I call it. And some of you may be familiar with this angle, where you find a seller who's got a property free and clear, no mortgage on it, and you do what's called a full seller carry. And that doesn't mean the seller's going to take payments for all of it. It just means that if the seller owns a property free and clear, let's say it's worth, just round numbers, it's worth $5 million, okay? And you negotiate with them that you're going to give them $1 million down as a down payment, and then give him $4 million for his equity and payments. So the seller is now the bank. No third-party bank, no third-party fees, no origination, no appraisal, no all that, junk. And you negotiate the rate with the seller. So if the seller agrees to take, 20% down, which is $1 million on 5, $4 million in payments over 20 or 30 years at an interest rate of 4 or 5%, that's so much better than you can get from an institutional lender. Because most institutional lenders, minimum 20, most of them are going to want 30% down, some of them even more, especially if you want a 30-year fixed rate loan at 4.5%, good luck. Good luck with those terms with 20% down. it's just like a unicorn. It doesn't exist. So you can negotiate whatever you want when you're negotiating with a seller. Now, why would a seller do such a thing? Well, there's a lot of reasons why a seller would do that. Number one, I didn't say anything about buying this property at a discount. So if he's asking 5, it's worth 5, and you pay him 5, he may be happy with the price, but it's your terms, right? So I'm willing to pay full price with those terms I just described, with 20% or less down and an interest rate in the mid 4s over 30-year amortization, fixed rate, no adjustable, no balloon, no prepayment penalties, and no junk fees. That's a good deal as long as the property, makes sense and makes a good return. That's what we call a full seller carry. Now, the big advantage to the seller, besides getting a higher price, I mean, if you're gonna pay cash, you want a discount. Every buyer wants a discount if they're gonna pay cash, because if they're paying cash, they're usually not using their own money. They're using some money and then a lender to fund the rest. And if they're going to pay 20-30% down, and they're going to borrow and be on the hook for a $4 million or maybe a little less loan at 7.5% interest or 7% interest, they're going to want a discount on the price. And then maybe the seller just doesn't want a discount, but they don't need all the money right away. Now, the number 2 reason, and probably the best reason a seller would do this, if that seller owned that property a long time, like 20 years, and paid $1 million for it, and he sells it for 5, he's going to have a $4 million capital gain. And that tax on that is due next April. So you got your 20% federal rate, you got your state capital gains, the Obamacare tax. On top of that, you're paying a lot in tax. When you sell on payments, it's what the IRS calls an installment sale. What does that mean? That means the tax that you pay next April as the seller is only on the down payment. The rest of it, you only pay taxes on as you receive it over the term of the loan. And if it's 30 years, you're just receiving a little bit of principal every year. And you're paying your capital gains on that as you receive it bit by bit over the next 30 years. And the great thing is, as the seller, it's the same number, whether you pay it all up front or whether you pay the tax over 30 years, it's the same number. And anybody knows time value of money. What's better to pay taxes all at once now or over 30 years? Not a trick question. Obviously, we'd rather pay a liability over 30 years because in 30 or 10 or 15, that money is worth less than it is now. So it's better to pay taxes later than to pay taxes now. And that's a huge selling point for a seller. That's like the first thing that I mention. When I talk to a seller, and most people are amateurs at this, when they negotiate seller financing, they go to a seller, oh, you own the property with no mortgage. Would you seller finance for me? And probably 9 times out of 10, probably 98 times out of 100, the seller's going to say no. Why? They've probably heard it's a bad idea, or they'll get burned, you won't pay, they'll have to foreclose you, or maybe they had a bad experience. People are very hesitant to say yes to that question because they don't understand the benefit. You have to sell the benefits first. So if you said something like, Mr. Seller, would you be interested in an offer where I can give you the highest possible price? You can get some rate of return on your money, and you would have the best possible tax liability scenario and a residual stream of income. Wow, let's hear. That sounds great. Not just, hey, will you sell or carry, right? It's like dating. You got to romance them a little bit. You don't just go right for it. You have to date them a while a little bit and show them why they would do a transaction like this. Okay, so that's what we call a full seller carry, meaning the seller at closing is going to transfer title to you by deed, and he's going to take back a lien against the property, a mortgage or deed of trust, depending on what state you're buying the property in. Okay, if you don't pay, then the seller's got to foreclose and get the property back. Okay. Now, I said 20% down, but you can negotiate less. I've bought properties with 0 down, 5% down, 8% down, 10%, 12%, and yeah, as much as 30% down. In the last case, I also got a good deal on the property and paid 0 interest. So, and by the way, is that legal? Do you have to pay interest to the seller? No. You could say, look, I'll pay you more and we'll bake in the interest rate into that by saying it's no interest, just principal payments. And you pay it off real quick when you're not paying interest. Okay, so that's a full seller carry. Then we have what's called a partial seller carry. That's where you put a down payment down, you get a loan from a third party, one of the parties we talked about earlier, some institutional lender, and the seller takes a note for some of the equity, and he's got a second lien against the property, a second mortgage or deed of trust. So you'd be paying the first lender on the first mortgage, and then the seller, who's also a lender, on the second mortgage. That's what we call a partial seller carry. You know, it's not as good as the first one, but if you find a lender who doesn't mind that you do this, because a lot of lenders don't like it, but if you find a lender who's only lending at, let's say, 50 or 60% loan to value, they won't mind if you put 20% down and have the seller carry as a note with payments the last 20%. And if the first mortgage at 50, 60% loan to value is, let's say, a 7% mortgage, and then the one you're paying to the seller is a 3% mortgage, you blend it together and your effective rate is somewhere in the middle. Okay, so it's still better than putting the full down payment down and borrowing it all from a institutional lender. That's a partial seller carry. Okay, then we have what's called a wrap or wraparound, and this comes in a lot of varieties. Some of you may have heard of this. Some of you may have done these. A wraparound is where you're leveraging the seller's existing loan. So if the seller has a loan on the property that's really good, like 3 or 4% interest, 30-year amortization, fixed rate, no balloon, you know, a really good loan, we don't want to buy the property, get a new loan at 7 or 8%, and then have the seller pay off that really good loan at 3 or 4%. So what we do is we're going to leverage that existing loan, because a lot of loans out there are like that. There's plenty of loans like this out there. And to the seller, it's almost a crying shame to pay it off. I know a loan is a liability, but really in this market, a 3 or 4% loan is an asset. It's an asset for the seller. So, and it's an asset for you, the buyer. So what you do is you're going to buy it from the seller. Instead of paying off the loan, the seller is going to transfer ownership to you. And then you're going to continue making payments on his loan or her loan at that 3 or 4% rate. Now, if there's equity in the property above that, meaning, let's say, we'll use simple math, $10 million commercial property, there's a $6 million loan at 3.5%. So they've got, in theory, $4 million in equity. If you gave the seller, let's say, $1 million down, and then wrap that $6 million loan, there's still another $300 million left. You could give the seller payments on that $300,000 in equity at whatever rate you negotiate. So I like to do it at the same rate as the underlying loan, the 3.5. But you can do it any way you agree. That's the great thing about seller financing. It's whatever you and the seller agree upon. It's not like going to an institutional lender where they want to know what color your underwear is and how often you change it, and appraisal, survey, credit report, all that kind of junk. And it's whatever you and the seller agree to is legal. Okay? Now, doing a wraparound, it comes in a variety of flavors. One is we call subject to, which is what I just described. When you transfer the property, leave the existing lien in place and just keep making payments on that loan. That's what we call buying subject to the existing loan. A wrap is when there's equity there and you're going to make payments to the seller on the total balance, let's say in the $10 million price, you put $1 million down and you sign a wraparound note for $9 million. And he's got an underlying loan at $6 million, which means there's a difference in payment every month, and the seller is going to collect that difference in that spread every month. That's what we call a wraparound. A strict subject to is where the seller transfers the property to you and you give them a note with a regular second mortgage on the property or second deed of trust. The main difference, I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but the main difference between a wraparound and a straight subject to is in a wraparound, the seller has a lien against the property, which means if you don't pay, they can foreclose you. If you buy a subject to, they can't. They're out of luck if you don't pay. So a lot of sellers are not really willing to do a subject to, but it's possible if they're behind in payments, if they're motivated, if they're in a divorce, if they're, whatever, not doing well in the business or has a bad tenant in the property, they may be willing to do that. And I've done it many times. I'm just saying the odds are higher if you offer them a way to get the property back if you don't pay. Okay, so that's what we call a wraparound. And those are three. I mean, there's probably at least 24 I could think of ways to do seller financing, but that's three good, solid ones that'll work in this market. So you find a seller who owns free and clear, you negotiate a small down, the seller carries the balance in the form of a note and first mortgage against the property at a low interest rate. Second would be a partial seller carry where you borrow a first mortgage at a low loan to value from a very easy lender. Because if the lender is only at 50% loan to value, it's pretty easy to get that loan. When you're going up to 80% loan to value, that's when they put you through the ringer. Okay? So you get the seller to carry back some of it. And then the wraparound where you have a seller who has an existing loan, but it's a killer loan. And we want to preserve that and leverage that loan by using a wraparound or a subject to. Okay? I'm sure a lot of you are going to have questions on that, which I'll be happy to take when we finish up. The second way of doing it is using partners' money. I said earlier, you don't have to put up money. That's no money down. It doesn't mean the seller's not getting any money. If you use partners, you can use all partners versus getting a loan. Now, if you bring partners in, you're sharing the profit with them. And sometimes that's more expensive than just borrowing the money. You have to look at it and say, if I share my profit with a partner or two or three or four or many, would that be better or easier and less headache than just borrowing the darn money from a lender? So you have to decide which makes more sense for the deal. It's easier to do. So if you get a bunch of people to put up the cash and just buy it cash, but none of your cash or very little of your cash, you can do that. Or you can do a combination where you borrow money for the down payment. So you partner with people with money for the down payment. So if you needed on a $10 million project, if you needed, let's say $3 million down to get a loan, you would raise $3 million from partners and then go get a loan for the rest of it. You can often get a cash discount, especially if you're paying cash. So if you were going to pay all cash with a bunch of partners, you'll certainly get a good discount on the purchase price. But you will get a lower return because you're sharing your profit with other people to induce them to put up money. Okay? So there's a good and a bad to using partners. And then the real kind of dangerous part that people don't realize is that when you start soliciting money from partners who are going to be passive investors, silent investors, you got to deal with securities regulations. Now, what do securities regulations have to do with real estate? They have a lot when you're raising money. So if you're taking money from a passive investor, whether it's a borrow, whether they're giving you a loan, or whether they're going to be your partner, be an equity partner, or maybe a combination, Then what you have here is a securities offering, which means you have to comply with SEC rules and state securities rules of each and every state you solicit money from people. And I don't want to go too far in the weeds in this, but let's just say if you're doing what I just described, speak to an attorney. Now, to comply with all this is not cheap. I do these for clients all the time. I've done many syndications myself as a syndicator, and I've also done the paperwork for many, many, many clients. And, you know, the attorney's fees could run upwards of $25,000. I mean, no joke. But if you're raising $10 million and you're going to say, I don't want to pay an attorney 25 grand, are you out of your mind? I mean, really, you're $10 million. You better make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. So I highly encourage you to seek reputable counsel if you're going to start raising money by either borrowing it from private people or making them partners, because you could be running afoul of securities regulations. Okay, so that's, you know, not the long and short of it, I would say, but that's an overview of creative financing using partners' money, And then the third one I wanted to talk about today, which is a master lease option, which I've done many times, both from both sides of the equation, as seller, as buyer, and also as an attorney for my clients. This is a great strategy, especially for multifamily, but it works on pretty much any kind of commercial real estate. You secure a master lease with option on the property. So what does that mean? A master lease means you're not the tenant. Well, on paper, you're the tenant, but you're not going to occupy the property. You're going to sublet it to somebody else. So a master lease gives you the right to sublet to somebody else, explicitly in the lease agreement with the owner. The option is an option to purchase the property that you've agreed on up front, either by a number, an appraisal, or some sort of formula or combination of both. I like to get a number up front, like a decent discount on the price with the option, and then get it for a long period of time. So if it appreciates, I'm going to buy that property. I'm going to exercise the option. And if it doesn't, if it goes down in value, well, then I just walk away. It's better than a loan in some sense, because if you buy a property and you sign your name on a $5 million loan and you want to get out of it in 5 years and the market is upside down, you have to ride it out until the market recovers. If you had a 5-year lease with option and after 5 years it didn't work out, just wipe your hands of it, walk away. Hope you made some money in the meantime. Now, ideally, you'd be making money between what you're paying in rent on the master lease and what you're collecting from the subtenants. I'll give you an example. I had a client who leased a master leased a warehouse in Denver. She sublet it to small marijuana growers. Big business here too. It gives a new meaning to that song from John Denver, Rocky Mountain High. So, and her lease was $8,000 a month, and she was subletting it for $14,000. So she's making 6 G's a month, and she did that for 4 years. The mistake was she didn't get an option to buy it or renew it. So when that 4 years came, the landlord jacked the rent up from 8 to 12. So now her $6,000 a month became only $2,000 a month. That was her mistake. So if she had a right to buy it when the lease was up or any time in the middle, she can exercise the option and buy the property. So you sublet to tenants for cash flow, do your magic, and if it's an underperforming property, it works very well. So let's say you have an apartment building. The rents are too low, deferred maintenance, seller's out of money, bad management, bad tenants in there. So what do? You get a master lease, and you don't have to put 30% down. You can put as little as 5% down as option consideration, lease the building, go and do your magic, fix it up, get rid of the bad tenants, get some better ones, do the deferred maintenance, raise the rents. After 3 or 4 or 5 years, now the property's worth this, and you've got an option to buy it here. Okay, so at that point, you can either buy it and put a loan on it, which is like a refi, exercise the option at the low price and then flip it to somebody else, or just get a loan on it and keep it. Or even better, get the seller to carry you. That would be even best part. So that's the master lease with option. And, you know, all of this is part of the theme of this whole event is thinking bigger. Thinking bigger. I know a lot of you here are here because you want to buy commercial real estate, or you have commercial real estate and you want to buy more. Too many people who get involved in real estate think too small. They start with, I got to start with a little bitty house. Maybe I can buy a duplex. Then maybe I can buy a fourplex. Then maybe I can buy a small apartment building. And someday I'll own some commercial property. Why? There's no rule that says you can't start out from the ground up and buy a 50-unit apartment building or an industrial warehouse or a strip center, retail strip center or whatever. There's no rules that say you have to do that. So thinking bigger is what's going to get you, and a few good deals can set you up for life. A few good houses is not. You can buy 5, 6, 7 single-family homes and make a decent living at that, but it's not going to set you up for life. You got to get involved in bigger deals, syndications, big multifamilies, you know, before you really start, you know, making some serious change, you know. And we talked about leverage before. You know, people say my goal is to be debt free. Not me. My goal is to be 100 million in debt, because that means I got 150 million in assets. That's how you got to be thinking here. You know, it's not about, because especially people who want to pay off their primary residence. I never understood that logic. I mean, you write like 14 checks a month: your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, the utilities, the water, the sewer, the lawn, the landscaper, the internet. So you got all these checks you write a month. So if you pay off your mortgage, you're just writing one less check a month. I mean, it's emotional. It's not logical. If you've got a 3% loan on your house, why would you rush to pay that off? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay. And the same thing even with investment property. I'm more of a fan of what some people do is they buy a lot of properties, and then when they retire, they sell half and use the proceeds to pay off the other half. And I wouldn't do that. I'd probably refinance some of them, take some cash out tax-free, and leave my kids leveraged real estate instead of free and clear real estate. Let them work for it like I did. All right. So this business requires being decisive. And in the book, Think and Grow Rich, and by the way, if you've never read Think and Grow Rich, I'll give you my contact info at the end. Please email me. I'll send you a free copy. One of the greatest books I've ever read, and I've read it 20 times. And he says in chapter 9, analysis of several hundred people who had accumulated fortunes well beyond the $1 million mark disclosed the fact that every one of them had a habit of reaching decisions promptly. People who fail to accumulate money without exception have the habit of reaching decisions, if at all, very slowly. In real estate, there's an old expression: you can't steal in slow motion. When you see a deal and you know what you're doing, shoot first, ask questions later. As long as you got a good contract that an attorney drafted for you that gives you outs, gives you contingencies so you don't lose money, don't snooze or you will lose. Okay? And also in terms of like timing, I know a lot of people are sitting out right now because the market's a little uncertain and interest rates are a little high. They think timing the market is the key, and it's not. It's not how you time the market, but how much time you're in the market that counts. I'll say it again. It's not timing the market that counts. It's how much time you are in the market that counts. I've done a lot of flips. I've done a lot of rentals. I've done hard money loans on both sides of it: commercial, residential, multifamily, everything. And what's made me the most money over the last 35 years is the stuff I kept and held. Just appreciation. I used to buy properties in the early 90s in downtown Denver on an American Express card. I bought a house for $7,000 in downtown Denver and flipped it for 15. That house is worth $450 now. Who knew, right? Who knew? So I'm telling you now, so you know, keep as much as you can. Keep as much as you can. Okay. The cost of inaction. In 1971, mortgage rates were 7.33%. Sound familiar? If you waited till rates went down, you would have waited to the early 90s. You would have missed out on building wealth. And meanwhile, the value of real estate during that time period quadrupled. Can't sit around, can't snooze and wait for that perfect opportunity for all the stars to come in alignment, because no matter whether the market is up, it's down, it's sideways, there's always deals to be made from individuals who have individual problems. So look for those deals, finance them the best and most creative way you can with as little cash as possible, and you will do very well. Okay. This is my contact info. Top one is my law firm, bronchicklaw.com. Now, I'm licensed in New York and Colorado. I can't represent you out of those states. I can consult, though. If you want to talk about the big picture of a deal, like how to do a creative financing thing and what's the best way to do it, yes, I can consult with you by the hour. I hate it, but as long as you're nice and respectful, I'll do it. By the hour. I also have another website, legalwiz.com, which is, I've been on the internet and that website since 1998. That's a long time. So I have tons and tons of articles. I have online courses you could take. You can also check out my YouTube channel, which is /Bronchick. I have over 400 videos on there and over 74,000 followers. And then that's my email, bill@bronchicklaw.com. Okay. So if you want to take a quick screenshot or take a picture, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's open it up for Q&A.
Beautiful, Bill. That was amazing.
Thank you.
mean, that was such a great refresher and took some golden nuggets as well. Super pumped up to have you. It's always a pleasure to have you. Guys, let's open it up. Unmute your mics. If you have a question, jump right in, guys.
Only got a kudos for you, Bill. That was awesome.
Thank you.
All right. There was one question I saw in the chat, Bill.
Mhm.
What mistakes do you commonly see newer investors or aggressive deal makers make when doing creative deals?
Ooh, there's a lot. I would say the number one mistake is not engaging an attorney to help you do it, because people just they go online and social media and like copy each other's contracts and forms, or they download it off some guru's website who's not a lawyer. You're dealing in sometimes multi-million-dollar assets, and you're too cheap to pay a few grand to an attorney to advise you. That to me is nuts. Like the Meineke Muffler man said, right? You can pay me now, or you can pay me later. And it costs much more later when you screw it up. So, don't be foolish. If you're not a pro at this, talk to an attorney. Now, the challenge is you're going to have to find an attorney who understands this, because most attorneys are going to tell you that doesn't work. That's illegal. I never heard of such a thing. You can expect that. Same thing with brokers, same thing with title companies, escrow companies. You're going to go through many of them to find the ones that you need who know how to do the game.
Perfect. Thank you, Bill. Now, if somebody brings a deal to you, it's free and clear. The seller is willing to do seller carry subject to some kind of creative financing. You've got a newbie that doesn't know how to structure that. Would you advise and help them get from A to Z or A to D? How far do you help them out?
Maybe A to C, because I can get them to the ABCs of, all right, here's the numbers, here's the math, here's the way it should be structured, here's what you should offer. But when it comes to like drafting the contract and representing them through closing, that's where I draw the line. I can't do that outside of my state.
Got it. Got it. Great. Anybody
That
else?
was
Susanna?
such a great presentation.
Thank you, Suzanne. Appreciate it.
So, especially because of where we are in the market right now, right? So the sellers, they can't get their equity out. They just can't. It's things are wonky. There's like this massive difference in interest rates. And I'm really, normally I don't really get involved in residential real estate, but I'm so behind all these young people. They're like jumping on this basically a wholesaling thing where they're doing creative financing and getting these desperate sellers out of their homes.
Mhm.
But on the commercial side, you're so right. You're going to find your most creative deals now. You're not going to find it when everything is going up and everything is sunshine, that you're not even going to be able to make an offer.
Yeah.
Right now is the time to do it. So I so much enjoyed it, and
Thank you.
especially your master lease option is so intriguing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think, there's opportunities in every market, and I think there's some unique ones now, especially with the interest rate differential. If you can somehow leverage that existing financing, you're going to do good deals.
Beautiful. Now, somebody looking at the different types of entity structures, they've heard about LLCs, LPs, GPs, C corps, S corps.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody just buying, maybe they have a small portfolio, 1 to 3, and then they're trying to move to that next level. What do you say next to them?
I'll give you the lawyer answer. It depends. There's no one size fits all. It depends where you're investing, what you're investing in, what the risk is, what the equity is. So there's no real cut and dry answer for that other than to say, seek the advice of a good attorney who knows this stuff. And they'll counsel you on what they think is appropriate from a legal standpoint, but also more importantly, from a tax standpoint.
Now, there's these anonymity states out there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you help people with them, like Delaware, Wyoming, Las Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
maybe talk to the audience a little bit about that.
Yeah. Some states have very little information on public record about the owners and operators of a company. You mentioned a few of them: Delaware, Wyoming. Even my state of Colorado is pretty thin on information. Nevada surprisingly asks for a lot of information. A lot of people think Nevada is private. It is not. You have to give up all that information, and it's ridiculously expensive too. But there are many states that do ask for information. Florida and Texas, for example. You got to put all the information about the managers of your LLC or the corporate officers and directors of a corporation on public record. And that means especially if you have a multifamily property and you have a manager and you don't want them to know who's the man behind the green curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, not very good.
Perfect. Anybody else? All right, Susanna, any other questions for Bill?
No, but I'm so happy that he's part of our group. It's such a wealth of
Thank you.
information. And he's so right. Finding an attorney that has an understanding of real estate from the investor standpoint, it's really not easy at all. So
It's not easy. You really want
it's
someone
gonna be-
who's an investor themselves, because there's a difference between theoretical law and then in practice.
Yeah. No, I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Bill, we'd love for you to join our school community. We're really having some members interact right there. And yeah, you'd be a great attorney resource for them. So
Thank
I
you.
put it in the chat if you want to click that. I've got your information. And yeah,
Yeah.
if they ever need a great attorney, I always give your name.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I do appreciate your time and your questions, and thank you very much. God
Thank you,
bless
Bill. Take care. We'll see you
Best of
again.
luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, Bill.
All right, beautiful. So we could do a quick stretch break. I do have another amazing guest, another great speaker, somebody who I collaborate with a ton, folks. Andrew, you want to give us like 2-3 minutes, do a stretch break?
Of course, yeah. Take your time, and we can start when you get back.
Perfect. So we're going to have Andrew with Vulcan 7 next. If you don't know who that is or what it is, do not leave, because folks, I've had them in my corner for a number of years. They've helped me make lots and lots of money, do a lot of deals. So we'll have them next, and then followed by Jesse Hernandez, the man, the myth, the legend behind Iris Commercial, who's here as well. So stay tuned, guys. Let's take a quick break, and I'll bring you guys right back.
I like it. Thank you.
is blue. Shoots up through the stony ground. There's no room, no space to rent in this town. You're out of luck. And the reason that you have to care, the traffic is stuck. And you're not moving anywhere. You thought these friends to take you out of this place. So you could lend a hand, return for grace. So you got no destination. Raise a imagination. Your love is even if that doesn't true. You've been all over, and it's been all over you. It's a beautiful day.
All right, all right. Hopefully you were hearing one of my favorites in the background there. You Too Beautiful Day. That is definitely one of my favorites of all time. So folks, little bit about Vulcan 7, and maybe I'll give you some backstory. So when I got into real estate as a realtor, I had a regular job. So I was working a 9 to 5, and just like everybody who gets into real estate, they get bored or sick and tired of being sick and tired of their day job. And so I kept my day job and I started working night as a realtor. I wasn't even fully licensed yet. And I had a great mentor that was fortunate to take me under his wing. And he goes, hey, okay, I want you to call expireds. I want you to call cancels. Here's the script. Here's the list. Smile, dial, make a pile. Right. And really, that was the extent of the training, believe it or not. And, you know, what really saved me was my tenacity and my willingness to learn and be hungry and fall on my face. And that's all I knew. I'll give you a little bit backstory. What I had to my edge, believe it or not, 9 to 5, my day job was I was a bill collector. Believe it or not, I was a bill collector. So real estate versus bill collecting, people wanted to come over or beat me up or kill me. And literally they came to my office and like, luckily there was some buffers in place and yeah, I was safe. But it was a blessing in disguise because I really grew thick skin around rejection. And so when I got into real estate part-time at night, I was calling expired cancels. Hey, I noticed your home came up on a computer as an expired listing. When do you plan to put it back on the market? Oh, no, I'm not interested. I go, oh, wow. Okay. Sorry. Good luck. You know, instead of like, hey, I want to kill you. Where do you work? Blah, blah, blah. So it was like a mosquito bite when I got rejected in real estate. But I'll tell you what, like that tenacity, that push literally got me and kept me in for the last 30 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, a great key to my success is Vulcan 7. I've done split tests. I checked out their data against the competitors. They have a secret sauce like none other. So we have, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew from Vulcan 7 who will talk about his company. Andrew, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. And so, as you already said, we are a lead generation app focusing mainly on the listing side of things, expireds, FSBOs, FURBOs. Now, I will say we are residential mainly focused. We don't really touch the commercial side unless you're doing kind of expireds. And that's, I don't know if you wanted me to share my screen and kind of give you a visual of it, or we.
Absolutely. Do
Yeah.
what you want. Yeah,
Let's
for
do it. So we are a full CRM and dialer. Every new account will come with 2 dialers. So you and another person, great for teams if you're looking to share the information, but this would be our homepage if you did get an account with us. A lot of tools available. Of course, we offer a bunch of trainings, but again, we are mainly listing sides of things. So big things to note here is the 2 dialers. Our dialer is also TCPA compliant. For those of you that haven't heard or maybe heard, at the beginning of this year, there were supposed to be some new laws about auto dialers. We don't have that issue. We are just a single line dialer where all we're basically doing is dialing the phone numbers for you. Being compliant with all the main laws is a very big necessity and a very big priority for all of us. Down that path, speaking of the law, the do not call registries, those will all be labeled for you. So don't worry if you don't want to call DNCs, you don't want to get in trouble with that. We can omit those for you, scrub them out, make sure you don't call them. But even on this other topic, dealing with the TCPA is the phone numbers. Hopefully you're aware. The spam issue is probably part of all of us right now. We're getting marked as spam, seeing those spam calls come in. Well, we have things called whitelisted phone numbers to help prevent this, or, it is still possible, but you shouldn't honestly worry about spam. And for this, we do have what we call the whitelisted phone numbers. And I'll just show you the area of the system where this happens. Every dialer gets a free phone number. So as I mentioned, you get 2 dialers with your accounts. If you went with us, you would get 2 free phone numbers for that. And of course, we are a full CRM and dialer. Just to give you an idea, if you haven't used a CRM, hopefully you do have one to keep track of all of your contacts and your information. But in our system, we would have everything go into buckets. Again, we have expireds, FSBOs, and FURBOs. It would be populated every day for you. All you would need to do, get in here, choose who you want to call, click dial. And again, we are a full CRM, so we would be able to keep track of all the information. Everything you do to a contact will stay with that contact. And Joe already mentioned it the best. We do have the best data in the business. There is no question about it. We've done a lot of testing, anonymous testing. Don't worry, we didn't influence them. And we definitely do have the best data from all those studies. So that's a quick rundown just to kind of cover what we do and kind of a visual of what it looks like. Of course, there's a couple other things we can talk about here, just making sure if there's any questions to start before I keep going.
Feel free to unmute, guys, if you have any questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the dialer just dials and then you get on the phone with them, or?
Yeah, and it's just a single line dialer. So think of all we're doing for you. And if you want to visualize this, we have a support account for this to show you. But basically, you would just select, say, 50 recent expireds. Hopefully, as Joe was saying, this is what he really liked to focus on as he started. And you would begin dial session. It would open a new window for you. And all that would happen when we actually connect, I mentioned the DNCs, the do not call registry. If you don't want to call them, it's just as simple as this. Do not include them. I don't want to call them. Continue. You'll choose to connect either through your phone if you feel more comfortable just talking through the phone, a little old school, or calling straight through the computer, speaking exactly as we are speaking right now. And I'll connect here and I'll visualize this all for you. Each contact will show up on your screen one at a time. It's as simple as when I click dial, I will start calling this contact and we'll have all the information right on the screen for you to know who you're calling right here. So we can see the property address and all the MLS information we captured to make this easy.
Do you have a straight to voicemail feature?
Is that like the pre-recorded voicemail? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
For those of you that are unaware, this is actually one of my favorite Google searches. Keller Williams was sued for $40 million in January of 2023 for leaving pre-recorded voicemails. So after this lawsuit happened, we removed that capability entirely. So the live voicemails are fine. You can leave live voicemails. It's the dropped voicemails, the pre-recorded voicemails that had that issue.
So what about AI? I just saw like that's like so changing the industry that they're using a lot, especially in like wholesale. Can you hook up a AI speaker?
I do not believe you'd be able to have AI talk for you. TCPA, I believe, for that is going to restrict this. The whole point here is auto. We'll probably see more on those laws coming soon on what becomes of that. But how we're currently introducing AI is actually we have the ability to record phone calls and use call transcription to summarize the phone calls so you don't need to type all those notes out yourself. It's actually a pretty cool feature, allowing AI to listen to the phone calls and just summarizing it for you. And just to show you, it is its own little setting, call recording and call transcription.
So you said that it's connected to CRM. So, and this is just for phone calls, right? You don't incorporate emails or anything.
Oh, great question. Yeah, you can do emailing through the system. We could do a broadcast email or just one email at a time. If you're calling somebody, they don't answer, you can shoot them a quick email. As I mentioned, you could do broadcast emails, or maybe you want to get all your past clients, use us as your main CRM. Get all those past clients in here, set up email campaigns, send them routine emails every couple weeks, every month, and every line.
And what's the privacy situation there? We own the data when we use your CRM?
While you're active with us, it is your data. You can export it, use it however you'd like. If you are no longer a member with us, you would lose access to your account, but you're always able to export the information. It is your data while you're with us. So it's fully yours. We won't do anything with it. It just stays in your account.
Thank you.
Hey, no, great questions. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Now, for those of you that maybe want to do some neighborhood searching, circle prospecting, geo farming, we have that capability as well for more of the long game, or maybe you just want to call about your listings. Oh, looks like we have some chats. Let me make sure that's not for me. Oh, okay, that's Joe. Thank you. Just making sure. So we do have a neighborhood search feature where you can find homeowner information around a just listed, just sold, open house, get contact information for the neighbors, start building that sphere. So it doesn't always need to be used for the expireds, FSBOs, FRBOs. We do also have this capability as well. And since we are talking about the services we provide, we do also offer pre-foreclosure information if that's something you're interested in focus on. Not quite certain the group we have, but we do offer pre-foreclosure information pushed to the account daily if that is something you'd like to be interested in. And just to show you, it would be its own little folder here called pre-foreclosures. Yeah, lead generation, best data in the business. We really try to make our system as user-friendly as possible, but we do have a full support team for a reason. If you have any questions, need a training, hop on with us. We'd be happy to help get you going in any questions and issues you've been having. So
Awesome, Andrew. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions, comments while he's here?
Yeah.
I've used Vulcan. I'm on Vulcan right now. They're motivated. They were listed before, they expired, they canceled. This is what we call the low-hanging fruit in business. So if you're looking to get some listings or perhaps even buy a property to get into your portfolio, I would highly recommend Vulcan 7.
We would as well. Thank you so much, Joe.
All right, Andrew. Well, thank you so much. Any other questions before he goes, guys, while he's still here?
Yeah, no worries. And of course, Vulcan7.com. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We're looking forward to hearing from y'all. All righty.
All right, Andrew. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank y'all. Have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right. So yes, I definitely love Vulcan 7. Like I said, I split test. I had one system versus Vulcan 7, and I used them both. The data was incredible. That's what you're paying for, because I could name about a half a dozen other competitors. They might be lower, what have you, but you know what they say, you get what you pay for. All right. So check out Vulcan 7, check out Bill Bronchick. I think we could jump right in because that was a quick topic.
So just one more question, sorry, on the Vulcan. So the data is residential or commercial? Or can you pick?
He'll go up to the 2 to 4 units. So some people like the smaller commercial, the 2 to 4 units, those pop up. And I'll tell you what, like some folks, if you do what they call the neighborhood search, and somebody sometimes has 3 or 4 properties, they probably have some multifamily, retail, other investment property. So like the best way to do it is get on point with your scripts, know the who, what, where, when, why, how kind of questions. When you know how to ask the right questions, man, you could use any data source, whether it's CREIC, whether it's Vulcan 7, anything, and I promise you, you'll find commercial property. And again, what I said earlier, you got to be resilient. You got to just be hungry. All right. Any other questions, Susanna?
I'm good, thanks.
All right, beautiful. Well, we're going to be taking it to the home stretch, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe the time's almost over. You guys hung in there for like, I don't know, 4 hours almost. So I'm super grateful that you guys hung in there like champs. To me, that's a great sign of your tenacity to be a very successful commercial real estate investor, agent, or broker. So now, ladies and gentlemen, a really great friend of mine. I've known Jesse for umpteen years. I want to say at least 10 or more. I've been to his office. I know his family. I've worked with him multiple times. He hosted the last live event. And if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. He's an investor. He owns Iris Commercial. He just listed this huge parcel of land. Incredible video. Great family man. Now a grandpa, right, Jesse?
Yes, believe it or not, I just became a grandpa for the very first time. If you look at my Instagram stories, we look alike. I put a beard on the baby, and he looks just like me. So we're good. We're good. So
right,
I'm a grandpa for the first time, guys. I'm excited. It's new to me. I'm still trying to figure out how to be a father, let alone a grandfather. So it's exciting times. Definitely exciting times.
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Jesse Hernandez in the house. He will be talking about commercial real estate brokerage, building wealth, long-term wealth, and create commercial real estate. Welcome, Jesse Hernandez.
Joe, thank you. Thank you guys for hanging in there with us for the last couple of hours. I'll try to make it as brief as possible and give you as much information that I can possibly fit into the time that we have allotted. But I'll give you a little background on myself. I've been in the real estate business since 1991. I've been doing residential real estate, residential lending, and I would say about 7 to 10 years ago, I started in the commercial space and decided to kind of expand that business. I still own a brokerage. I'm still a licensed realtor. I don't sell too many homes as I used to anymore. I focus more on the commercial side of the business. I still have a full-blown brokerage, probably about 50 agents. I own a mortgage company, an escrow company. And like I said, recently we started with a commercial division, or actually recently, several years ago, we started with the commercial division. We also just expanded into Nevada. Joe, I don't know if you noticed, we opened the second location in Las Vegas. We're in Summerlin. Las Vegas. I have a partner there. So we're expanding the Iris commercial brand into Nevada as well. So there's a lot of exciting things happening right now, guys, but there's nothing more exciting than investing in commercial real estate. As now getting into my grandpa era, right? Isn't that what people say nowadays? The grandpa era, right? Or whatever era you're in. You really start thinking about generational wealth, right? And how to build that generational wealth and how to hand it off to the next generation. We've been doing that in our family for some time. I've very good friends with other families that have done that. I think, Joe, I've mentioned them before to you in the past. There is a family that my daughter works with that is 5 generations deep, developers, and they've mastered the art of building generational wealth, training the next generation, then hand it off to the next generation and the next generation. They own a ton of commercial real estate here in the area. And me and my family, we've been kind of mimicking them for the last couple of decades. And we built a nice portfolio of properties as well. But it is that whole generational wealth, educating the next generation, getting them ready. So I'm glad that you guys are here today. I'm glad that you hung in there till the last minute. But we're going to talk a little bit today about investing in real estate. I know that I sell real estate. I have a brokerage, but my passion is really investing in real estate. And I really wish that somebody would have told me that when I first started in the business. I probably would have been a full-time investor. But you know what? I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it. And just like Joel said, that he learned so much from rejection by being a debt collector, right? And kind of learned that aspect of the business, and it helped him in his investment and his career now. Well, being a real estate agent and being a mortgage person and owning a brokerage really helped me in my career now as a real estate investor, building generational wealth for my family and my brand new grandson, right? And what I learned was this, and it happens to us all the time. Every single time I had a client or investors, just like you guys are out there, that would always come to us and say, us being agents and people in the real estate business, if you find a great deal, call me, right? I get that all the time. When you see a great deal, call me. Guys, what do you think is going to happen when I see a great deal? I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it. And that's the beauty of being in the front lines as a real estate professional, whether it's commercial or residential, is that you're in the front lines and you get first crack at those deals. The best deals never hit the market. The best deals were always off-market deals. Every single property that I purchased has never been in the MLS, ever. The way it works is our agents and people in the industry, we know each other, we network with each other. They'll call me and say, hey, Jess, I have a listing coming up. It's this property. This seller is going to sell next month. This seller is going to sell a month from now. It might be a great investment property. We want to take a look at it. And we'll look at it before. And guess what? If it's really, truly a gem, right? If it's a little diamond in the rough that you can pick up, rehab, reposition, and refinance, then I'll pick it up and it'll never hit the market. That's the beauty about being in real estate full time. You get first crack at those properties. You get first crack at those type of investment opportunities. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my one of my acquisitions, and then I'll talk a little bit about that land and another warehouse, because there's different asset types in commercial real estate, right? You have multifamily, you have industrial, you have retail, you have office space. There's so many different asset classes that you can deal with when it comes to commercial real estate. What I recommend to you is that you choose one and become an expert, right? If you're going to become an expert, choose one. And the reason why is because each one has its challenges. Each one has its own finances, the way you would finance a property, different documentation needed. And each one has a niche that you got to kind of work with and deal with. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. If you're going to buy multi-unit and you're going to start investing in multi-unit investment, you're going to look for property that you can add value. One of my investments in multi-unit was a probate property that I purchased, and there was family living in the property, and rents were way below market, right? Way below market. They were like at $800 a month, and going rents back then when I bought it were probably about $1,200. Well, I picked up the property, but when you're dealing with multi-unit, there's a lot of different aspects that you really need to look at when you're looking at investing in multi-unit. It's everything have separate meters, right? How many gas meters? How many electrical meters? How many water meters? Is there a house meter that you're going to be taking on the expense of the exterior lighting, right? The maintenance on the property, whatever the case is. Is there staircases that go up? And usually in LA, especially Los Angeles area, there are a lot of older buildings that have those metal beams with those cement steps. Have you seen those, Joe? You know what show I'm talking about? They have like a metal beam on the bottom and then cement steps. Those are usually the worst ones to, when I look at those, I look at those staircases very carefully, because those are the worst ones. They're very expensive to replace, and they're usually rotting out right at the bottom of the base by the cement, or if there's dirt nearby, right? So you need to know what to look for as a multi-unit investor. Another thing I look for is not only the staircases, I also look for the satellite dish, right? Everybody has a satellite dish. They all put them on apartments. They put them on the roof. That just tells me I'm going to have to replace that roof, right? It just tells me I'm going to replace that roof because they're bolted onto the roof itself, not on the side, but on the roof, not on the side of the building. So I look for those things. So when you're dealing with one asset class, multi-unit, compared to industrial or anything else, you really need to know what to look for. That's why I say specialize in one. Because if you're going to invest in industrial, well, now you're looking at what's the service panel, how much voltage is going through there, who's going to be the ultimate user of that warehouse or in the industrial building. Do they need more voltage? Do they need a larger gas line, right? Do they need, how many docks, roll-up doors? Do they need ground level drawers, or they have the dock where they back in? All of these things. What's the ceiling height, right? What's the ceiling height? What's the zoning there? What was there before? Because that might not allow you to do something else. Because I've had properties that I looked for that I thought were a great deal, because we're going to put some sort of food distribution center in there, but it wasn't a great deal because it used to be oil and mechanic place, and because it had oils and different liquids there before, the food industry wouldn't allow it to be placed in there, right? So even though it was a great deal at a great price, the end user wouldn't be able to use it. So you got to be very careful with those things, the zoning and that type of stuff. So that's what I'm saying. When you're looking at investing in commercial real estate, really take a look at what asset class you want to specialize in, because you're going to need to learn the tricks and the trades of that asset class. And same goes for industrial, office building. If you're doing an office building, you're going to look at different things that you would look at if you're doing multi-unit. So if there's going to be one thing that you walk away from today as an investor, or you're looking to invest in commercial real estate, is be a specialist, right? Be a specialist at what you do. And if you think about it, when you go to the doctor, who makes the most money when you're looking at a doctor, right? The general practitioner or the specialist that specialize in your heart, right? The heart surgeon, the eye doctor, right? Who's the one that specializes in the particular trade is the one that's going to make the most money. And the same thing is true in investing in real estate. Now, I've done it all. I've done single family, small duplex, and that one thing that we were talking about earlier, where you go from a single family to a duplex to a triplex and then to a small apartment building and then larger. Well, I took that route. I should have jumped into the big stuff right away, right? But it takes time, guys. I was new at this thing. I learned it now, though. I'm starting to do it now. But as a real estate investor, I really emphasize that you really need to understand the asset class that you're getting into. Joe loves storage units, right? He loves storage units. I haven't dabbled in it yet, right? The attorney before is looking for a car wash, right? I probably wouldn't go that direction. I definitely wouldn't go the direction of a restaurant either, right? It's just, guys, you got to see what you gravitate to, what type of asset class really resonates with you and the one that you want to deal with, and become an expert at it. For me personally, I love industrial and I love multi-unit. So if it's industrial multi-unit, I'm all in. I'll look at it all day long. But if it's something else like a car wash or something, I don't know enough of it. And when you don't know enough of that industry, you're positioning yourself for failure or for something to come up that you might not be aware of. And it happens all the time, guys. How many of you on this call have ever heard, I want to start learning how to flip homes, right? And then you see somebody jump into learning how to flip homes and they don't know what to look for. And next thing you know, there's a foundation problem that they got to fix and their profit is gone. Their profit margin was small, 30, 40,000 profit margin on this. And all of a sudden they have to replace or fix the foundation and that profit margin is gone. And that's only because they don't know what to look for. That's what I'm saying. When you start thinking about truly becoming a real estate investor, whether you want to develop, whether you just want to buy and hold, whether you just want to buy and flip, or you want to reposition, really think about what asset class you really want to focus on. Like I said, I focus on multi-unit and industrial. I know Joe does the storage units. Joe, you got to teach me that because I'm really interested in that aspect of it. I think that's the next step for me, a little storage unit complex. But what I can say with this is really there's a lot of benefits in investing in real estate. I wish that I would have done it a lot sooner. I do recommend that you start doing it right away. I bought and sold a lot of properties that, looking back now, especially now being in my grandpa era, thinking, man, if I would have kept that property, this kid would have been set for life right now if I would have kept that one property that I sold, right? But I'm not complaining, guys. Real estate has been amazing to me. It's allowed me to raise a amazing family. My son just graduated from Pepperdine with his MBA, and it was debt free. It was debt free. He didn't have to borrow any money. He didn't get a student loan. He didn't get anything. And guess what made it happen? Real estate. Real estate made it happen. So I encourage you to really, truly get into commercial real estate. I encourage you to ask the right questions. You're in the right room, in the right group, with the right individuals. There's a wealth of knowledge that's been on this call today, a wealth of knowledge. I'm more of the boots on the ground investor. I'm the one out there. I'm still in the front lines with the real estate brokerage here in my office, but I love that position because it gives me the first opportunity at the true investment properties out there. So when people come to me and say, guys, or when they go to you and start telling you, hey, if you see a good deal, call me, guess what? You're going to end up buying it. You're going to end up picking it up. You're going to end up repositioning that property and reaping the benefits of it. So as a real estate investor, like I said, if you're going to walk away with anything, specialize in one asset class, learn all the tricks and traits, how to finance it, what questions to ask, what to look for. And I can guarantee you're going to do very well as far as investing in that asset class. I'm going to open it up for questions, Joe, only because I know that they've been on the call for 4 or 5 hours. But if you guys want to have any questions regarding commercial real estate, I'm open to it right now.
All right, folks, you heard it. Let's open it up. Go ahead and unmute yourself. If you had a question about commercial real estate, brokerage, anything at this point, we're coming towards the tail end, or even for Susanna, anybody here who has spoke today, myself, Jesse, Susanna, feel free to throw something out. We'd be happy to answer before we start wrapping it up.
No questions except for comments. Susanna, Jesse, always a blast seeing you guys. You guys are awesome. Keep killing it. Congratulations on no debt college.
You know, guys, it's not that difficult. You got to start early. My grandson, I mean, I just saw him yesterday. They brought him yesterday. And honestly, the first thing that went through my mind was, I need to buy a couple properties for this kid. I need to buy a couple properties, throw it in the trust, leave it there. So by the time he's ready to go to college, he'll have the same benefit that my son did, and able to attend full time without working, let the property pay for it, walks away with his master's. And now I'm done, guys. I'm ready to go for the next property, the next investment.
Beautiful, beautiful. Great job, Jesse. Great job. And yeah, if you folks don't know, I want you to connect with Mr. Gavin Ha with Visual Rhythm. All the credit to him for being at our first event. If you've seen that video on YouTube, holy moly, this was a genius behind that video. Gavin Ha with Visual Rhythm. Thank you.
I only pressed the button. You guys are the geniuses.
Too humble, my friend, too humble. All right. Anybody else?
Hey, Jesse. Great presentation. Congratulations on the grandchild, by the way. Just wanted to say I'm kind of in that similar position where my father, he also started a brokerage, and it's kind of like a generational wealth thing where I just recently graduated from college. I got my degree in finance and real estate, and I do want to I want to get into real estate. I want to get into real estate investing. I feel like that's another branch that we could definitely pursue with my father and his network. What advice would you have for someone like me who doesn't really have a clear set path into this world, because there's so many things you can do in real estate? What's some advice you have for me? It could be general, specific, to kind of like guide myself in this career.
I think the first thing you would need to do is, first of all, you're in the right group. If you're going to think about, if you're thinking about investing in real estate, you got to get around like-minded people.
Right.
I believe that you're with the right group, because you're going to hear a lot of different ways of actually not only investing in real estate, financing real estate, creative financing, traditional financing. You know, like I said, different asset types of investing. So you're in the right group to get started, number one. Number two is really look at the vision. What's the long-term vision, right? Start with the end in mind. What would you like your investment portfolio or investment journey to look like 5, 10, 15 years from now for you and your family brokerage, right? I knew when I first started in the brokerage business that I was going to build this big brokerage, and I did. I actually did, and then it kind of changed. I went to at my biggest, I was like 300 agents, 12 locations. I mean, we're doing millions and millions of dollars of sales in our brokerage for many years. And at the end, I realized that, yeah, that's great, but there was a big burnout in there. I should have been investing a lot earlier. And when I started investing, I changed directions and ended up in commercial real estate investing. So I think the first thing is really take a look at what that vision is going to look like for you and your family brokerage. Now in our office, we're more of a family office. I still have 50 agents here that do the day-to-day sales, but we're more of a family office, and we focus on commercial and investments. So you really got to take a look at what direction you're going to take your brokerage in, and if you have to pivot right now that you're getting started. I would recommend you, if you're going to get started, start in investing. I would have, if let's put it this way, my son just got out of school just like yourself with his MBA, right? I don't want him to sell. I already told him I don't want you to be a realtor. I don't want you to sell. I want you to understand what it takes to build wealth, and I want you to take what we've built and start looking for more opportunities to continue to grow that portfolio, right? Look at that portfolio and manage that portfolio first. And by that I mean, okay, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of what an investor builds wealth with. I have a property, and the property has several units. It's several units in the complex, and we're looking at the expenses on the property because everything is based on net operating income, right, Joe? Net operating income, cap rate equals the value of the property. You had that little exercise at the beginning of the class. Well, we looked at the property and we saw that we had a $450 expense a month in trash removal, right? And the reason why it was so high was because the bin was at the back of the property. So the company would charge more to go into the property to get the bin and get back out, right? They have to go through the parking lot, through the cars, all that. For some reason, there was a higher expense to do that. So what we did is we took the bin, created an enclosure at the front of the property and put it in the front of the property where you can just come in, grab it and go. And it dropped our expenses. It dropped our expense. So by dropping our expense, it went straight into our net operating income. It increased, right? So if it increased by $400, and if we take an example of, let's say, 450 times 12, that's $5,000, right? $5,000. And if our net operating income was 100,000 and now it's 105,000, the difference, if the cap rate was 4%, the difference could be from 2.5 million worth to now it's 2.6, almost 2.7 million. So we created value. We forced appreciation. We created value in that property by increasing our net operating income. And all we really did was move the bin from one side to the other to lower our cost, right? So as you're getting into your investment journey and you're getting into developing your portfolio, that you're going to learn different aspects of it. Number one, how to hunt the deal. Number two, how to structure the deal, right? Number three, how to maximize the deal by learning to move the trash can, looking at the satellite dishes, looking at the air conditioning, looking at the landscaping. You're looking at all these things on these properties and seeing where you can maximize it. So if you could take those three aspects of it, right, then I think you're going to do very well in investing. So as far as your family practice and what you're doing right now with your brokerage, I believe you should keep it, because that's going to keep you in the front lines. Those deals are going to come to you and your agents are going to bring it to you. You just got to make sure that they understand that you're looking, you're a willing and able buyer, right? And you acquire the deal. Like I said, every single property that I've ever purchased, was always brought to me by an agent. And I'm an agent of myself. I'm an agent myself. And they would say, hey, Jess, this property's coming. And I'd take a look at it and I'm like, wow, there's a deal here. I learned how to hunt. Here's the deal. And then I would pull the trigger before it hit the MLS. So why be in real estate? And I think you're in the perfect position right now because you have your father's brokerage and now you're coming in and now you're taking it to the next level with investing and developing your family portfolio and generational wealth. And with your help and your dad's network and everything that you guys have put together, I think you're well on your way.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Jesse.
Buddy, are you working currently?
No, I'm not working. So I was I had to, it was either I work in Milwaukee at CBRE. I was offered an analyst role there, but I decided not to take it and came back to California. So I'm currently 100% into just brokerage. I'm just doing leads all day. Like I'm just doing lead generation all day, like picking up calls, trying to, what Joe did back in the day. So yeah.
Okay, so, but that's through your dad's brokerage?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, by the way, if you can crack lead generation, I just talked to a client who wanted me to refinance his property in San Diego, by the way, Joe. $19 million in revenue by doing lead gen, just selling a lead gen, like incredible. So it's not always easy starting out, Adi, but there is like, just do the work, see how hard it is, because it's hard, and then either simplify it or start solving problems. It's like the opportunities are incredible. But let us know if either one of us can help, because we're absolutely here to support youth. My son is going to be a sophomore in college, so we're going to roll out the red carpet for anything you need. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm not kidding.
No, this
Are you doing anything right now in your brokerage with your father as far as lead generation for investments?
For investments, so I was actually we've been working close with Joe. We just hopped off a meeting the other day where we were looking at properties, specifically multifamily properties, in like Texas, Ohio, and things like that. And I just got off the call with a couple of brokers the other day. The most nerve-wracking experience ever, because I really did not know what I was talking about, and I felt really stupid. But as far as lead generation, we've just touched the tip of the iceberg with that. So I've personally made my first 2 or 3 calls to brokers out in, there's a couple properties out in Texas. Yeah, it was pretty nerve-wracking, but again, the more I do it, I think I'll just get used to it, and I don't think I have a problem with speaking. So it's just like it's nerves. I just have to get rid of those. That's really it.
I'm going to tell you what we do here. Maybe it can help you out a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe the rest of the group as well. Have you ever heard of PropStream?
I haven't, no.
Okay, PropStream, look into it. It's a system that we use to look for owners, distressed properties, that type of stuff. But what I do is this, and it's very simple. Because we have a brokerage, and I can relate to you because you have a brokerage as well. So I have a young gentleman here at the office that he goes on PropStream, looks for a property. We'll skip trace it to find the phone numbers of the true owners. We don't go to agents. Remember, the best deals are off-market deals. They're off-market deals, right? So we'll look at it, and if it's in notice of default or pre-foreclosure, whatever the case is, then I have my young guy call him. That would be you. You would contact them and say, "Hi, we're a family firm. We're always looking for potential investments. We buy property. We notice that you're in foreclosure. Are you considering selling the property? We would love to make you an offer on that property. Right. It's not on the market. They have no idea. You're just calling them, and you're just saying we're a family firm and we're buying property, right?" They say, no, I'm not interested in selling. Okay, great. Well, if you are, then we send them a quick LOI, right? We send them a quick LOI, and it's an investor LOI. So if the property is worth $1 million, we're at 600,000-700,000. Obviously, we're looking to pick up a great deal, right? If they say no, then say, okay, great. I'll tell you what, this is now within our buy box. But if you still want to sell the property, I'll be glad to refer it over to one of our agents in our commercial division. They can contact you and get you retail price, right? So that way now you're feeding your brokerage and you're looking for investment deals. If somebody does look at your investment offer and you can negotiate a great deal, you bought an off-market deal before it hit the market. Because anybody else is calling like you are, calling brokers, what do you have? What do you got going? Trust me, guys, the good deals, they're already gone. They already bought it. So I would suggest that you start looking to go consumer direct, right? Go consumer direct. And my buy criteria is this, and I think Joe knows where me and him got it from a real good friend of ours that's an investor. I look for people that are older, that don't need the property anymore, are tired of getting the calls to fix the toilets or change a light bulb in the middle of the night, that are very well set financially. They don't want the headaches anymore. The kids are grown, like my kids are professionals. They don't want anything to do with managing the property. Those are the people that I call and say, do you want to get rid of that property and get rid of that headache right now? And that is my ideal client. And by client, I mean, that's my ideal investment strategy with these people. I pick up those properties, reposition it, put it in my portfolio, and then look for the next one.
Right. Thank you.
Adi, don't worry about being nervous and nerve-wracked. You honestly brought so many memories back from when I was starting. It's supposed to be nerve-wracking. I just don't even worry about it. Are you kidding me? You graduated from the Kelly Business School. You can be honest with people. You can just say, hey, you can come out and say, hey, I'm nervous about this call because, it's only my third call or whatever, but I work with the brokerage and I have investors. So just be patient with me. I'm telling you, you'll be fine. And we're here as a resource.
No, I'm definitely going to use you guys a lot as a resource because I feel like you guys have a lot of knowledge to give out to me. And yeah.
All I can tell you, we were all there. We were all in your we were all in your shoes at one time.
Yeah, and Joe, I joined the channel. So if I ever do have any questions, I'll definitely reach out to you guys either personally or through the channel. And this meeting definitely helped a lot. It was very helpful.
Awesome. We're so glad you're here. So glad you took a lot of notes, and
of course
share with your friends and family, and that's the whole purpose. Jesse, that was amazing. Great job as always. You always bring on the fire. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to wrap it up. So I'm going to go through a few more slides. You guys hung in there till the end. What's next? So what's next, guys? Oh my gosh, only $27, folks. So depending on the interest here, for a limited time, monthly mastermind. Okay, so you thought this was fire, man. Think about like meeting with us once a month, live group coaching and Q&A, access to the school CREIC, Commercial Real Estate Investor Club community, recorded commercial real estate investing masterclass. That's a class I put together that people actually paid thousands of dollars. Okay, this is less than a gym membership. All right, so that's a commercial real estate inner circle. Go ahead and scan that if you want to be part of it. It's $27 a month. Okay, that's one option. The other option, if you really want to get serious about this, you really want to take this to the next level, need one-on-one time, deal dissection, need help with financing a deal, join the club, of course, is the natural thing to do, especially because it's free right now. I am very limited on my time, as some of you do know. I shared my intro in the beginning. If you're all in, apply. I'm not taking everybody. That's just not how I'm rolling right now. I just don't have time, unfortunately. If you're really serious, go ahead and scan that, answer the questionnaire. We'll make sure it's a fit, because I want to make sure if you're really committed, you meet certain criteria that I'm looking for. And there are some coaching clients here that either former or current that know how I roll and know what I could bring to the table. So yeah, I like I said, I'm not for everybody, and I want to make sure, like, even if you want maybe Susanna one-on-one time or Jesse one-on-one time, feel free to answer that questionnaire, and I'll give it to them directly as well. but we want to make sure you're well fit, because coaching is not for everybody. It's one of those things where when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. We want to make sure that you are ready, because coaching is a commitment. Okay. To truth. Again, like I mentioned, alone you will go fast. Together we can go far. I hope you really got that out of today. That was one of the biggest things that I was trying to emphasize. Hopefully it was super, super clear. You can see Jesse, Susanna, Bill Bronchick. These folks are in my corner. I can't do this by myself. No way. And not anybody else, I would say. This is one of my mentors, trainers, coaches. I was fortunate to meet Tim Grover, who is also the personal coach of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. Be Relentless. He wrote the book. Grover categorizes athletes into one of three groups: coolers, closers, and cleaners. Coolers are good. Closers are great. Now, cleaners, that's next level. That's Michael Jordan. Okay. Read the book, see where you fit, because commercial real estate, if you haven't played this game yet, it's a big game to play. But I'll tell you what, the sacrifices that you'll make during this journey will be well worth it. And it's better to start sooner than later, because like Susanna said earlier, one of her clients, exited out with a 300+ million portfolio in 5 years. Now, we did our disclaimer earlier. We can't claim that everybody's going to be at that level, but you claim how your work ethic is going to be, how the deals will present itself. What are your abilities to close? Do you have the right team? I want to thank all the sponsors, the incredible people behind this group. As you know, they're real. Vulcan 7 was here. CREIC was here. Iris Commercial. We have the founder, the president here, Bill Bronchick, Susanna Royce with Comloan. We have all these incredible people that's really gravitating to Commercial Real Estate Investor Club. I want to thank them so much. And some of the founders here in the group that who were there from day one that helped me start as well. Sharing is caring. Go ahead and scan that if you haven't already. Share the school community. We want to build out that platform. We will be having more content in there, more recordings, more resources to help you out with your commercial real estate investor journey or commercial real estate broker journey. We want to help you out. And if you're questioning about getting a license, I say go for it. Jesse, myself, we're both licensed brokers, and it helps because it's a great way to figure out, does this person want retail or is it a don't wanter? So you win either way, and you could help either way. So I want to thank each and every one of you for sticking it out. We are right on the money. I mean, we ended pretty much right on the dot here with a few minutes to spare. Any closing statements, comments, Susanna, Jesse?
I had fun. I hope we provided value, and I'm really looking forward to working with everyone going forward.
I just want to say that, time, guys, good information. I appreciate everybody sticking it out to the very end.
Yeah, you're all excellent panel. Excellent. I'm very impressed with all of you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Morphia. Appreciate you.
Got some great info. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any closing comments? Anything like that? Oh, we have a couple more minutes.
Only thing I want to add on is I hope to help this CREIC group grow. Everyone can win in the long run.
Thank you, Gavin. Adi, you had something to say?
I was just wondering, do you recommend any like seminars or anything like that you think are useful that I should attend? Because I think growing my network is huge, so I was definitely looking to do some in the future.
Join the school.
Okay.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. The school community, it's fairly new.
Yeah.
If you went to Facebook, there's over 300 members in there. And there's other members who have participated and are involved, and they're not very proactive in social media, but this group is getting large, and we're gaining a lot of traction. As you can see, CREIC, I mean, they're massive. They're standing behind us. They were at our first live event. They're here today. So if they didn't believe in us, they didn't see the potential here, they wouldn't be here. Bill Bronchick, he very, very hard to get a hold of. Again, he said his rates are about $500 an hour. You were very, very fortunate today to hear him out. So yeah, stay involved with the community. You know, the book that I mentioned, my workbook, I will open up my recorded masterclass where I literally spent a good amount of time, money, effort in putting that together. That's a really great resource. I think Jesse wrote a book as well, or has an ebook. Yep.
Definitely. Yeah. Feel free to reach out to me. I don't know if you can reach out to Joe. I think he has my contact info. I don't have access to the chat, but definitely, if you have any questions or want to reach out to me, I'll be more than happy to help out. But like I said, join the school.
Yeah, I put your Instagram there in the chat, and so feel free to DM Jesse and reach out to him. All these folks, especially the speakers that spoke today, we're all about giving. You know, we're all big believers that the secret to living is giving. Caitlin, her and I are on the same BNI group. I know Gavin is too, and it's givers gain. We want to give and give and give. The world, the universe, whatever you believe in will reciprocate, guaranteed. You put bad vibes, bad stuff, bad energy out there, you watch what happens. Unfortunately, it's the opposite. So keep giving, participate, and you watch that magic happens. So I want to respect everybody's time. We are 1 minute away. Any last comments, questions, anything before we wrap this up? All right, well, give yourself a huge round of applause. Each and every one of you fully deserve it. Your attention was there. You played all out. We appreciate you guys and hope to see you guys again soon. Take care. God bless.
Thank you so much.
Bye all. Have a good weekend.
Bye. Thank you.
See you guys later.
Bye-bye.